and gentlemen, let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in
by Gensel, but kept in by Ekblad. Runs a little interference into Gensel. Sent toward the net. Rebound score! This time it's going to count for Ekblad! It's 2-2! Fifth career playoff goal. This place is alive. He has 118 career regular season goals. That's the franchise record. They score again off a Caramount in front. Unbelievable. Seth Jones apparently had it ricochet in.
Brooks to inbound. And now Şengün. Defended by Green. For the lead. No. Ripping it off. Rebound inside. Whistle blown. Foul. Rockets.
And Draymond Green wanted all the smoke versus Şengün. There's a reason why he's a former Defensive Player of the Year.
All right, a Tuesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels heading up until 2 o'clock. Packed show today is typically, it is on a Tuesday. Adam Teicher will be our guest coming up an hour from now, Chiefs insider from ESPN. We will get his thoughts on the Chiefs draft, what he liked from the draft, maybe things he was whelmed by, overwhelmed, underwhelmed, what the Chiefs may need to do moving forward now. Overall roster construction moving forward. We'll talk about those things with Adam Teicher coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. We will talk some Royals baseball. We'll break the norm with Les Norman coming up at noon and get his thoughts on this Royals team. They get ready for their road trip as they head to Tampa Bay to take on the Rays the next three, then to Baltimore to take on the Orioles before returning home next week to finally play the Chicago White Sox. Finally. Thank goodness you finally get the White Sox. I mean, come on, it's going to be May. It's going to be May.
That's all I could think about was Matt Derrick.
I was wishing that I had that as a hotkey. I need to make that happen.
So we should do that.
I think it's going to be...
When's the first time the Chiefs or the Royals will play the White Sox in 2025? Like, I can't find it on the calendar whatsoever. You know, last year they played them like 7 times in the first 2 weeks. Man, it was great. It's the only reason they made the playoffs last year is because they went 12-1 or 13-1 against them. Remember, they backed into the playoffs last year. They backed into the playoffs because they only beat up on the White Sox, and then they lost those games late, and other teams lost, so therefore it's the only reason they made the playoffs. 162 doesn't matter. What you do in April, May, June, July, all that stuff doesn't matter, but only matters what you do at the end. But, I just wonder.
Well, the reason is because they don't play the AL Central as much as they used to. They kind of, was it competitive balance or whatever?
Yeah, I'm just looking through the schedule, and I don't see when they're going to play the White Sox. It's not in April, certainly. So it's going to be
May?
Probably. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. Joining us also, Todd Lebo comes up at 1 o'clock. Fact or Fiction with Todd Lebo.
Sure.
Maybe.
Why not?
More likely than not.
It's a probability.
Preponderance of evidence says so.
Dylan, you want to get in here?
Likely or not likely?
Maybe, maybe not.
All right.
There we go.
All right.
We'll play that one coming up in the 1 o'clock hour with Todd Lebo. I hope we don't have a tie today. I just hope we don't have to worry about a tiebreaker question. It sucks that you have to come up with these tiebreaker questions so often.
On the spot, too.
That's right.
Just wing them.
That's right. Let's get into the show. The Royals get back in action tonight. As I mentioned, Michael Lorenzen on the mound taking on Taj Bradley. 6 o'clock game for the Royals. And we'll certainly talk some Royals, as I said, with Les Norman. A lot of stuff to get into and break down with Les, the lineup, We talked a little bit about it yesterday with what Drew Waters is doing, what Michael Massey is not doing. Do you move guys around? What does that do to the thought process of players if a Drew Waters moves from the number 7 spot in the lineup, number 8 spot in the lineup to number 5? Does he put more pressure on himself? The inverse, if Michael Massey moves from number 5 down to number 7 or 8, does he relax a little bit more? Vinny slides down to the 7 hole in 2 games, and he's, 3 for 8 in those games. And, both games end up with RBIs. And so, Cinco de Mayo, White Sox at the K. That's right, yeah. Get a little Cinco de Mayo with the White Sox. Go out there and get yourself a win. So we'll talk about all of that. And Jack Caglione now 2 games in right field that he has played down in Double-A. And also the conversation around Peyton Wilson, who has moved up to Triple-A because he was really struggling in Double-A. I mean, really struggling. He was, and I look at these numbers, and these are rough, man. Peyton Wilson in 19 games in 91 plate appearances at Northwest Arkansas this year, he only batted, 392. He was only getting on base at 505. Like, you can't get on base more
see
than
506, actually, in mine.
Okay. 505.8, maybe. Or .5058 might have been the case. I don't know. And then he was only slugging 689. So I say he only got on base at 505, but if he got on base at 506, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Only getting on base at 505 and only slugging 689 and only OPSing at 1.194 in 19 games, Peyton Wilson. And the position that he plays is second base. So conversation with Les Norman is, we talked about, it's an interesting sort of flip as we're looking at it now, because the outfield was the biggest position that there were questions around, especially right field, that if there was a position where somebody couldn't struggle because they were going to move on quickly, we talked about like right field. Because if Jack goes down and he is crushing it and Renfroe or MJ Melendez are struggling, well, you better swing the bat well early on if you're in right field. What we didn't look at, and what has now become what I believe a conversation around Michael Massey, is maybe the worst position to struggle at with the bat is second base. Because the Royals have 3 second basemen that are playing the field. And if Michael Massey is not hitting, they've got Jonathan India. They've got Michael Garcia. They've got guys who have played second base. And now they have moved Peyton Wilson up to AAA, who's a second baseman. They have options. And not literally with Michael Massey to go down to the minors, but also literally with guys that can play that position. If there is a spot on this team where somebody needed to play well to secure their job, probably is second base, because they have options. They don't have options in right field, but especially the start of the season. Maybe they got one with Drew Waters now. Not even maybe. They do have one right now, the way he's swinging the bat and playing. They do have an option with Drew Waters, but they've got guys that at least can play that spot at second base. Now, Massey's playing a really good defensive second base. But I feel like you've got to be Roberto Alomar to make up for the bat right now. And that, I mean, the same thing with, like, center field. If you're struggling in center field the way that Isbell is, at times, what he's doing is the number 9 hitter. I'm actually not all that upset with the overall numbers. I hate the loopy swing. We've talked about that. But if you're struggling at times the way that Kyle Isbell has when you're sub 200, like, you've got to be like Willie Mays or Griffey in center field playing defense to make up for some of those things. And Massey at second base plays good defense, but what his bat is doing is such an anchor on this team, weighing the offense down. You just can't play defense nearly well enough at second base to make up for that bat right now. And so they've got options at India or Garcia and Peyton Wilson moving up. So we'll talk to Les Norman about that.
So I don't think Peyton Wilson would all of a sudden play 5 games in AAA and then get called
up.
No,
not at all. But it's something to keep an eye on and monitor if Massey continues.
But it's not even just second base. I think second base is the initial thought process, which 100% I'm with you. But he played a lot of outfield in his minor league career. In 2024, he played 63 games in left field. He played 10 games in right, 2 games in center. So he can play all over. I mean, the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs do too. The Royals really value versatility, right? The Kansas City values versatility.
Yeah, you got to be. Look, you want to live in Kansas City, you got to be versatile, man.
You want Joe's? What do you want? Pulled pork?
Yeah.
You want?
Versatile. You want some bird ends?
You want Rosedale? What do you want?
Ribs? What you thinking?
And so
some Q?
I think that's really
char?
important to have. Is
some meat?
Peyton Wilson has multiple
Zarda?
options and ways to get to the majors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the bat's not going to be, at least according to what we've seen in the minors, his minor league career, OPS is at 788. Now, is this a step forward in his age 25 year? Could be. I mean, it's bolstered by a great on-base percentage as well, but the average really stands that he's always taken walks in the minors. But also, he has a little bit of a floor. He's pretty fast.
Yeah.
He 2022, 23 stolen bases, 23-19. Last year, 22 and caught stealing 3 times, 22 of 25. So, again, I'm not saying he's the quickest guy, but he's got some speed.
Mm-hmm.
A versatile player. Royals value that.
Yeah. So we'll get into that coming up in the noon hour. Let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we continue assessing and talking about and addressing the draft. And the question that I have for today as we start off at 913-912-4810, if we look back to entering the draft, what we were thinking about the Chiefs' position, their picks, what Brett Veach had talked about, what we would have liked to see them address and get done, positions that we felt needed to be attacked and brought in to bolster. Did they accomplish what you wanted them to accomplish when they were entering the draft? Coming out now, looking at the 7 picks, did they get done the things that you would have liked to see them get done? And for me, the answer is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. A lot of it will depend on Josh Simmons. And I think that's just, we talked about that with the draft class anyway. A lot of it certainly depends on what you get from your first-round draft pick. Do you get somebody that plays to the level of the value of a first-round draft pick and a guy who should be a starter, and depending on how high you're picking in the first round, should be a starter, potential Pro Bowler. Later on in the first round, get yourself a starter that has potential of growing into that, of growing into more than a starter. Second round, get yourself a starter. Third round, get yourself a guy that could be rotational starter. Then you get some special teamers with some upside as the draft goes along. I'm not saying that's what they got, but sort of generally entering a draft, it's what you're kind of looking at when you're picking in all these different rounds. We talked about figuring out the left tackle spot long term, and I know that you and I disagreed on that, so that's probably not something that even, when we say what did you want them to get accomplished entering the draft, to you, left tackle wasn't part of it. To me, it was. I wanted to see them address left tackle if they could in the first round. I did not want to see them address left tackle in second round, third round, or fourth round. They've gone that route before.
Also agree.
So if they were going to address left tackle, then make a move in the first round, do something aggressive, and this is aggressive in terms of the variance of what Simmons can be. So I think it's aggressive not aggressive where they were at 31 and they traded up to 24 to get him, but aggressive in that they could have traded up a couple spots and got Connerly and felt like, it's more of a safer pick. The guy isn't, recovering from a patellar tendon rupture. The guy's, can play right now and is going to be healthy for rookie minicamp and OTAs and everything and all of the minicamps and training camp. And there isn't a question. But it's aggressive in making the decision to draft somebody that has that injury with such a lower success rate of return to play, return to level of play. I wanted to see them address that. I wanted to see them address the defensive line to some degree. Defensive tackle especially.
Yes.
But also, could you find an edge rusher, or were you going to get defensive tackle in this draft, some other positions, and go into the season with Karlaftis, Amenahue, Dana, and FAU? And say those are our 4 edge rushers. And if you did that, okay, I could see the thought process behind that. We address different positions. Next year, we're really going to attack edge. Also this summer, we're trying to get Karlaftis locked up. So we're not walking on George. We're not saying there's one more year left with George Karlaftis, and then next year, Karlaftis gone, Pennell gone, Amenahue gone, Dana getting close to the end of sort of like you might want to move on from cap implications and things like that. FAU getting close to the end of his 4 years because fifth-year option doesn't look like it would be something they would pick up right now. And so you're looking at more dire straits as an edge, but I could understand the thought process that they looked at it this year and said, the most pressing on the defensive line is defensive tackle, somebody to play next to Chris Jones, because Tillery's a nice rotational piece, but he ain't making up for the loss of Turk Wharton.
Correct.
So I wanted to see them address that. And then at some point, obviously running back was something that I wanted to see them address. And for me personally, and from my standpoint, the conversation we have had since last year, in the draft last year, what I wanted to see the Chiefs address was somebody with home run potential, somebody with juice at the running back spot that presents an element and a skill in that running back room that they have been lacking. And I talk about going back to 2021 with Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah.
And the last time we saw somebody with that big of a difference-making level was the 13-second game and the first half against the Bengals. Second half against the Bengals, he did not touch the ball nearly enough. But the 13-second game, he was brilliant. And the first half against the Bengals, he was averaging 7-8 yards per carry. And then you don't give him the ball in the second half. It seems dumb, but, those things happen. You live and you learn. But last year I wanted them to address that. And what were they missing all season long? Somebody to run some outside zone. Somebody in the screen game to catch it and burst and have a home run. Somebody in the regular passing game. I mean, you saw the couple of passes to Samaje Perine. Kareem Hunt passes out of the backfield.
Yes.
Who has that ability to catch it and then go the distance? So I wanted them to address running back, but specifically that trait of a running back. So as far as a couple of the main things I wanted to see the Chiefs accomplish in the draft, coming out of the draft with the 7 picks, I'm pretty satisfied with what they got done. And I threw out there, before the draft, we talked about cornerback is certainly a need because Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, those guys are in the final year of their contract. And wide receiver, because we talked about that too. If Luther Burden was there in the first round, I wouldn't have minded if they went Luther Burden. But wide receiver is something that I don't think nationally people were addressing enough with the Chiefs as a need because they would look at it and go, you got Rashee Rice, Xavier Worley, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. You don't need wide receiver. But we talked about that. So the main ones, offensive and defensive tackle, and a running back that offers something in the room that you did not have. And they've addressed it 2 ways. One, in the free agency with Elijah Mitchell.
And we can't add another receiver with character issues to this room, probably.
Luther Burden does not have character issues, man. I'm not going down that. I'm not doing that again because he pouted. Because he pouted one time during a Texas A&M game when, man, I'm not.
There's a top 10 talent that went in the second round. So.
I'm with you, man, and I get it. Just watching him and hearing that consummate professional his entire time at Mizzou, I just feel like he's getting a bad rap because someone wants to try and find a way to figure out why he fell, other than the fact that, hey, maybe just the Missouri Tigers did not use him. Did he occasionally take plays off? Sure, I'll agree with that. But I think when we start hearing,
pouting, taking plays off, but
if you were gonna equate them as the same, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. I feel like people sometimes equate off-the-field issues in the fact that he pouted a little bit during the Texas A&M game. It's the same thing. A Georgia guy's doing crazy stuff. I have my pet peeves, and maybe I'm too close. I'll admit it. I'm a Mizzou guy. Maybe I'm too close.
A little bit.
But I just, from everything I have heard personally, he had been a consummate professional.
How's the contract coming along with Luther Burden as his agent? I'm just joking. That will. You feel like you're going to get it done soon, or
that will? I hope so. I'd make a nice chunk of change.
I know, right? That's I'll take my 3% on that. Hell yeah.
And by the way, with Rashard Smith, I'm with you. I feel like a 7th rounder. He's not a 7th rounder, and he brings a different style to the running back room. I love that draft pick. For me, it was D tackle. It was cornerback as the most underrated aspect of because we had talked about it. Yeah. Again, if they would have hit on a cornerback last year, they kept trying these 5th, 6th, and 7th. They'd been so successful. But that well had started to dry up a little bit, and I feel like we keep focusing on some of these other former guys instead of the current guys. And then Kamal Hadd, because if Kamal Hadd would have hit, what happens? We're not signing Christian Fulton, but he didn't hit. And so I'm glad they spent an actual higher round investment on a cornerback,
and especially
Noel Williams.
Especially a guy that people thought was going to be drafted higher
Yes.
than where they actually got him.
And so, for me, cornerback may have been the second most I wanted to see investment in, and I think it was underrated.
So you went defensive tackle, then cornerback as your most pressing needs, or what
yes,
you wanted to see.
what I would
accomplish?
like to see. Again, you know my thoughts on tackle. It's not that I don't think the Chiefs need to get the left tackle situation and right tackle situation figured out. It's that I just don't believe in the draft, specifically left tackle, can be figured out where the Chiefs draft based on how we have seen them develop tackles in the past. No tackle has really gotten better in the past, I don't know, 6 years here in Kansas. I mean, maybe Wiley's the guy you say got better, but it wasn't like he became a phenomenal.
He got better in our eyes because there were zero expectations for him to play that position.
Correct. And so that's more or less right. To me, it's just a development issue, and I think you almost need to bring someone in at tackle, whether that's a trade. I know free agency, you're not getting, obviously, the elite of the elite typically in that regard, but Laramie Tunsil came open. Trent Williams came open. They were close on Williams, obviously, originally. I didn't hear much about Laramie Tunsil, quite frankly.
Yeah, I don't know that they had the capital to really, do that. You're talking about cap space and also the draft picks to acquire Laramie Tunsil.
But it's why I like Jalen Moore. I think Jalen Moore this year is going to be better than any rookie left tackle out there.
But to your point, it's also why you got to find that guy in the draft, because those guys don't come. You either find it in the draft, or you spend multiple picks and a lot of draft capital to find it from somebody else.
I am team overpay.
Yeah,
I'm team overpay for left tackle.
But it's like, who's available to overpay? It was Laramie Tunsil.
Tunsil.
Because Ronnie Stanley you could have overpaid, but you never had a chance. Because the Ravens, because part of it was like, do we really trust Ronnie Stanley to be a Chief this year when the Ravens didn't even want him? Well, the Ravens did want him. They didn't let him get away because, as Brett Veach said, these guys don't become available very often. And so you have to find one on your own and develop it because they don't become available. And that's the thing. It's like
or you trade and you overpay. I mean, they had Orlando Brown Jr. They that to me is the method, is the get the eight. Again, everyone wants an all-pro left tackle. I do too. I think the odds of that are so slim in today's salary cap era. You're paying so many guys currently right now with obviously Patrick and Travis. We talk all the time about, Patrick's contract's a deal. Yeah, it is, but it's not a rookie contract. You're paying Chris Jones. You're paying Travis Kelce. You're paying a lot of guys big time money. Nick Bolton now. Drew Tranquilly paying 2 linebackers now, right? You're eventually going to pay Carl Loftus potentially, and I think for sure Trent McDuffie. You're paying Trey Smith with the franchise tag this year. You're paying Creed Humphrey. You're currently paying Jawan Taylor, which is why I didn't like the contract to begin with. Different story. Again, just to me, I think that the trade method for an 8 to 12 range left tackle, and then you might have to overpay. Again, I think both parties would have done it differently. Orlando Brown Jr., if given the opportunity yet again. That's why I'm holding out hope that Jalen Moore can be a 10 to 12 left tackle in football, and you can try and keep him long term, because I don't think you're ever going to get. Everyone wants Trent Williams. There's only one of that guy. That's what it comes down to me.
And Laramie Tunsil, it's like, do the Chiefs are they in a position to trade a second, third, fourth, and a seventh for Laramie Tunsil and then take on a $22 million cap hit all the same? That's where you get into it's
and
like
he wants a new contract, correct?
Yeah. So and he's got the leverage to get a new contract, because he just got traded for a second, third, fourth, and seventh rounder. It's like, okay, you're going to not give me a new contract?
Surprisingly, it's not done before or right and simultaneously after the trade. It's usually what they do.
He's got 2 years left on his contract, and both of them are $21.4 million cap hits. But after this year, there is no dead cap hit. Yeah. So in theory, they could walk on him. That's not the case. They're not going to. But it's also a guy who's going to be 31 years old.
Yeah.
And you gave up a second, third, fourth, and a seventh for him, and you're paying $22 million against the cap, which for a tackle at Laramie Tunsil, not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
If you didn't have to give up all of that cap. So essentially you're saying you gave up Omar Norman Lott, Ashton Gelati, Jalen Royals, and Brashard Smith and $22 million for Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing, but the point would be that's what it costs to get your left side fixed.
But to his point, though, they could all those players that we all think could be great
could suck.
We have
could
no
all
idea.
be horrible.
Yeah. Right, and you're like, man, I wish they would have given up a second rounder and Sky Moore to go get a tackle.
Yeah,
I'd love to give up.
Would you give him Sky Moore, Kamal Hadden?
Right. You're like, I'd love to have. Man, why didn't they give up a second and fourth rounder for some left tackle in 2022, Sky Moore and Joshua Williams? Man, if they'd have just given up a second and fourth rounder, how cool.
You could have had Trent Williams.
They could have had Trent Williams when the 49ers traded for him. That was not having the foresight of, hey, these tackles are getting older.
Yep.
Maybe we address it right now and trade for him. And then we're re-signing our guy who's been around and protecting Patrick Mahomes and not in San Francisco, when really, as long as San Francisco matched what the Chiefs did, he was going to stay a 49er.
We had to pay a tax.
Yeah.
Being in Kansas City without a proven – if Mahomes had already won a Super Bowl at that point, probably not.
Great
but
call.
we hadn't, and we just got beat by the Patriots who beat everyone all the time, so they probably thought –
if there's a
great call,
no, my bad. When did he sign with them? When was that? Was that
– It was after they lost to the Bucs.
Okay.
Because they had won a Super Bowl, they lost to the Bucs, and that's when they revamped the offensive line, signed Joe Thuney, tried to get Trent Williams, drafted Creed, drafted Trey Smith, but the issue was not trading for him when he went from Washington to the 49ers. That's the mistake that was made. They tried. They went as far as you could probably go on Trent Williams, and it got to the point to where both of them were like final. And he was like, yeah, I'm here. I'm familiar with this. I'm staying here in San Francisco. And, we had an opportunity 2 years ago. We almost won the Super Bowl. I'm not going to switch from a team that, lost to that team in the Super Bowl.
Not Kevin Durant.
I'm going to go and I'm going to stay here and help this team win
My
the Super
next
Bowl.
chapter.
Yeah, that's right. that would be the looking back, the missed opportunity was not trading for Trent Williams. And a lot of this could have been, figured out at that time. But still, like that's the price of doing business. Is Norman Lott, Noel Williams, Jalen Royals, and Brashard Smith, and $22 million cap hit for Laramie Tunsil. Or you take a chance on Josh Simmons and you pay Jalen Moore and you throw numbers at it that way and not numbers as a Kingsley and Wanya Morris second and third rounders that you're hoping to develop that can become a left tackle.
The only pushback I give is how excited were we last year with Kingsley Suamataia?
Oh, I was pretty excited for sure.
I think we all were, and that's my pushback. I'm
100%.
I hope Josh Simmons is a stud. I'm rooting for the guy, and I hope he comes back and he's the outlier from the injury. That would be phenomenal. But I just feel like we had a lot of the similar conversations last year with, well, you got Kingsley Suamataia. How excited are we about him? Well, and you have a guy who played left tackle some last year with Wanya Morris going into his second season. So you at least have a floor guy. You got to have a floor guy. And
you got to have a floor guy. I like that.
And I don't know. I feel like every year.
But can we? Sorry. Can we? And we can address this on the other side too. Can we acknowledge though the logic behind the excitement was flawed?
Yes,
at
100%.
the time, where the logic behind this is everybody acknowledges if he returns to his level before the injury, you're not getting the 32nd pick in the draft.
100%.
That's the difference. In Kingsley, you were excited of what he could grow into with coaching and the traits are there. Simmons, you're excited for if he just returns to what his knee was before, you've got a guy with great feet that floats as an offensive tackle, that is strong, can anchor, can get out in space, can run outside zone, can take on whatever pass rush, whether it's speed around the edge or power or speed to power. He's not a guy that is pass rush specific like Orlando Brown was. Speed, you got to help him. Joe Thuney, power, you're going to have to help him. Joe Thuney, speed, he's going to mirror. He's good. His technique is amazing, but he's not going to be able to anchor because he doesn't have the lead in the ass.
That's Myles Garrett.
Exactly. He can't anchor. Where Orlando Brown, if he got his hands on you, you weren't going anywhere, man. He's just standing there like, what are you trying to do, dude? You're a child to me, all right?
It's the Boogie Cousins, Karl Anthony Towns picture when Karl Anthony Towns is trying his all and Boogie's like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah,
that's like an all-time picture.
That's Orlando Brown versus a power edge rusher. Whereas a speed guy, Orlando Brown's like, son of a gun, where'd he go? He's the guy. He's the big monster trying to grab somebody. He just grabs their
It's like the Tom and Jerry thing, and Tom's trying to grab Jerry.
That's right. It's Roadrunner and it's all of that. So, all right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. I do want to talk about a couple things still with this draft class. We'll weigh in on if one player becomes an All-Pro out of this draft class, who makes the biggest impact for this team if one player becomes an All-Pro. It may be an obvious answer, so maybe we choose two guys that if they become an All-Pro. And then what needs maybe still the Chiefs have to address, if there are any spots. I've got one spot particular and a specific part of one spot that I feel like they could still address. We'll get into that. Brandon Beane, frustrated with the frustrations of some of the Bills fans. Trevor Sikkema is speaking right to the heart of Sterling. And we'll get into some other things. Ryan O'Hearn apologizes for the hot mic in the dugout. We're not going to play what he said on the hot mic, but good God, it's hilarious. So he had to apologize to the kids that might have been watching. We'll get into all of that. Adam Teicher joins us at 11 o'clock, Les Norman at noon. Todd Lebo, 1 o'clock, more Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes. Dylan Michaels. We'll talk with Adam Teicher coming up at 11 o'clock. Les Norman at noon, Todd Lebo at 1 o'clock. This answer may be obvious. Like, it may be like, okay, that's dumb. This is the answer. But I'll ask it anyway. And if the answer is obvious, then we can go down to the second guy. If out of these 7 picks, and 913-912-4810, maybe the answer is obvious to you guys as well. But out of the 7 picks, if one of them becomes an All-Pro, the Chiefs benefit the most from this particular player being an All-Pro. One player out of these 7.
Well, Josh Simmons.
Okay, Josh Simmons, right? That's what I said. It seems like it's an obvious answer.
Yeah.
But sometimes you ask the coach the obvious question because you may get an answer that you didn't expect. You know,
Shadur Center said,
odds are
be legendary.
Yeah, odds are it's white cotton, but maybe it's something you didn't expect. Maybe it's something you haven't seen before. You know, you never know what it's going to be. Number 2, though, if there's after Josh Simmons, if we all agree somebody becomes an All-Pro out of these 7, Josh Simmons is the beneficial for the Chiefs, the one that they get the most value out of at that position because, good God, it solves that question, that problem.
I got mine easy.
Yep.
The other side of it, Glott. Because if you can get to the quarterback or protect the quarterback, I feel like that is the most
That was mine too.
premium.
That was mine too. Was Ashton Gelati? Yeah, was
Gelati.
was my selection too at number 2. So I guess it's easier than I thought.
3?
I mean, what's
Gelati
yours?
was going to be mine.
Okay, great.
But I
Who's
get,
the 7th player that if they become an All-Pro,
Well-
the 8th player to become an All-Pro out of the undrafted free agents?
Can I give you the one, I guess, pushback if we want to? I think Omar Norman Lott would be great because how much longer of elite production do we get from Chris
Great
Jones?
point.
That was I was going between Gelati and Chris Jones were the two that I was toggling.
I do think Karlaftis will get a second contract in Kansas City, so I do think that means there's at least one guy on the edge who will be productive. How much longer of Chris Jones at elite? Is it 2 more years?
Yeah.
Is it going to somehow be the outlier and it's 4 more years and Chris Jones is it 1? Like, we don't know. It's just how old is Chris Jones at this point?
30.
He's not like old. He's 30.
One-ish.
He's going to be 31 when the season starts.
Nailed it.
He's almost 31. You know, how many more elite years?
Look, I used to guess people's age at the carnival, so I mean I nailed that one.
I think he'll be good for a while, but how many years of elite?
Next year I'm going to be barking for the yak woman. You ever seen her? Ugly as sin, but hell of a cook. Anyway, go ahead.
So I do think Omar Norman Lott could be the answer, but it's probably not going to be for a couple of years as far as most important position or most important player the Chiefs need to hit on as a All-Pro. I guess cornerback is always an interesting one because you have
you can
McDuffie,
have two All-Pros.
Well, because we saw what it was like with Legarius and McDuffie, how we both think they should have been All-Pros.
I mean, we're so worried about All-Pro. I mean, I'm John Sherman this. I mean, I'll settle for a Pro Bowl cornerback. I mean, they can't even get a Pro Bowl cornerback on this team. I mean, Trim McDuffie, you traded up in the first round to get him, and he can't even make everybody makes a Pro Bowl. You can't make a Pro Bowl? Guy sucks. What a terrible draft pick.
Do we see the least important as Jalen Royals at wide receiver?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It'd be nice if they had, because maybe it's Royals and Brashard Smith.
I think Smith was an interesting one because...
But Smith I would put before Royals.
Agreed.
I would probably rank them
6 and 7.
Yeah, that's the way I would go. I'd probably end up going 1 Simmons, 2 Gelati, 3 Norman Lott, and then if you guys have a differing part of this,
I went 4 Williams.
4 Williams.
I went 5
Bossa.
Smith.
Oh yeah, you know what? Bossa's in there. I think it's 5, 6, 7. You know what? I'm gonna put Bossa 7th.
The one thing why I had him ahead of Royals is because
6, 7. Yeah, Bossa 6.
The Chiefs don't have a coverage linebacker like that, and so if he turns into that
too,
means
like, without Drew Train, you're right. Off-ball linebacker.
Off-ball, you're like, oh man, that because I think Nick Bolton's going to be the same Nick Bolton for the next couple of years. But
I'm putting him ahead of Brashard Smith as well and Jalen Royals. I think 6. I think I'm going back to what my original one was, in 6 being Smith, 7 being Royals. So it's 1 Josh Simmons, 2 Ashton Gelati, 3 Norman Lott, 4 Noel Williams, 5 Bossa, 6 Royals, or 6 Smith, 7 Royals.
And so that's what we're talking about if they become that.
If
the most
one player
important.
becomes an all-pro, the Chiefs benefit the most from this particular player. They get the most value. And obviously it's number one, and then a wide gap between Josh Simmons and everybody else.
All right, now let's play this game.
Play the game.
Which one of these guys becomes an all-pro? Best odds.
Josh Simmons.
Not Josh Simmons. We
darn
can't say Josh Simmons.
Okay.
Josh Simmons might single-handedly have the best and the worst odds of being the all-pro.
I'm just betting on the one that always seems to happen, cornerback. Like it seems
with
like
the Chiefs,
cornerback,
yeah.
we always seem. I mean, Kamal hadn't been the outlier, and there's probably a couple others that I'm not
Yeah.
remembering.
But I
there's
mean,
more
L'Jarius
hits than
Sneed
misses.
and Trent McDuffie being studs. You had a first rounder and a fourth rounder. Now maybe you get it with the third rounder.
The fact that it's easier to remember the hits at that position is
Wide receiver is so tough. In the AFC, wide receiver. In the NFL, to be an all-pro wide receiver is just ridiculous. Like, you've got to be. To be an all-pro, you've got to be one of the best in the league. I just thought of that, by the way. Nailed that. I think more people should have that analysis. If you're going to be an all-pro, you need to be one of the best in the league at
I'm going to
your
start calling
position.
it all-professional. You're an all-professional. How many all-professionals do you have?
As I was getting ready, but the point is, to be the best wide receiver in the league is much more difficult than 10 years ago, right? I mean, it's ridiculous, the talent at wide receiver.
Do we count it to make it to the professional bowl, or?
No.
I like we should just
All professional?
We really should just start just really making sure we have the full title.
You know what? I'm going to go with I'll go the most likely to be that.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go Bassa, because
off-ball
linebacker, you're not picking up sacks. You're not picking up it's sort of like what you do on the field, coverage grade.
It seems like he's gonna have a chip on the shoulder.
I mean,
special team all-pro, count it.
Done. Yeah, but I mean, if I'm just looking Josh Simmons, I already said he was number one, and you said besides Josh Simmons, because he's got obviously the highest ceiling. Norman Lott, man, there's so many good defensive tackles. I mean, he's got one right next to him.
I think that's going to be tough for a few years.
Gelati, defensive ends in the AFC. I mean, are you kidding me? That's difficult.
They have a hard enough time picking defensive player of the year.
Yes, right. Noel Williams, I mean, as a cornerback in the AFC with one person on your team, Surtain, you got some freaking
Derek
studs.
Stingley,
Sauce, I mean, you got some guys. That's difficult. Again, I said wide receiver. Maybe it's Brashard Smith at running back. But
so that's the way I'm going. If I can't pick Josh Simmons, I think Norman Lott could be in the conversation, but I think it's for a few years down the road. I think we're talking 3-4 years, because if Chris Jones is still good, but maybe takes a step back, but he's still getting a lot of one-on-ones for Norman Lott. We saw Turk Wharton get 8.5 sacks alongside Chris. Well, maybe you get to double digits, things look a little different for Norman Lott. But I think Brashard Smith is the name to keep an eye on as far as could he be an all-pro in the future.
Yeah.
And the reason being, the Chiefs have tried to get that speedster. They need that speedster. Pacheco has a 4.39 speed, but without the vision, and he doesn't have that game speed. It doesn't translate. Smith's game translated. It did in college. And I think they could use him a lot out of the backfield. Again, when you have Patrick Mahomes, and you're a pass-first offense, and you can start running off at 5, 6, 7 yards a clip, you get that Devon Achane style, right? I think Smith could be really efficient pretty quickly in this offense. And so, and maybe I'm getting too excited here, but the reason why I kept saying they'll draft a Devin Neal type. That's the type they've been going after.
But I mean, it's like, this last year, Saquon and Derrick Henry are all pro. You've got to overcome that.
But running back, I hate to say it, there are typically a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variation at the running back position, too. And maybe it's not this year. Maybe I should have clarified. I'm not saying this year. I'm just saying in the future. I think Brashard Smith is a name to watch out for that potential All-Pro, and I think he could do it as a special teamer as well, which would be a little bit of a maybe cheap. Maybe it's a little bit unfair for throwing that caveat in there. But I think Smith could be an all-pro returner as well.
And I think it's fair. Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, we didn't say
that'd be a hell of a guess, honestly, more so than just saying, running back.
But
all-pro.
if we look at Bassa, if we look at the linebackers that aren't the edge rushers or the outside linebackers, outside linebacker, all pros, it's like Benito and T.J. Watt. All right. I mean, are they outside linebackers?
Really?
I mean, in the 3-4, yeah.
Lawrence Taylor was a outside linebacker.
They're edge rushers.
Clay Matthews.
Yep. I wish you would just trade if they could just change the All-Pro to edge.
Yes.
As opposed to like defensive end and then outside linebacker. It's the same thing, but it's a distinction. So, but it also takes away from linebacker. So the linebacker All-Pros last year, Zach Bond, Fred Warner, and Roquan Smith. Second
Fair.
team, Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner, and Zaire Franklin.
Wow. Also, by the way, congrats to Bobby Wagner at age 35.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I went Bassa, is because, like, you know, could he do again? We're talking about like if somebody. We're not saying like this guy's going to be that. All right, so don't get it twisted. And I don't want to see the tweets and all of that stuff about.
No, you know what? Fine. Sterling Holmes, Brashard Smith,
All-Pro returner. As a returner, Jalen Ramsey. As a returner,
3 years.
As a returner. How dumb does he look when he talked about that with Tyreek Hill?
Oh, my gosh.
As a returner, he was an All-Pro. As a returner.
Wait, I forgot. They played together,
his
too, then.
teammate. That's what I was about to say.
Right, yeah. But, like, you look at the players in the NFL and the spots of these positions that they've drafted. It's freaking ridiculous. Even at tackle, Tristan Wirfs and Jordan Mailata.
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's...
Did Penei Sewell get one?
Penei Sewell and Lane Johnson at the right side.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're looking at left side, then it's Wirfs and Mailata. So, I mean, I went Bassa just because, like, the
You're probably right for positional.
for opportunity positionally, you know, edge and outside linebacker, you better have the counting stats.
Maybe this coffee has me hyped up, but now I'm all in on Brashard Smith doing something. I'm telling you what, this coffee, I'm all jacked
As
up
a
on Mountain Dew.
As a returner.
As a returner.
Can he beat out Kavonte Turpin,
Yes.
kick returner, and Austin Eckler, kick returner in Washington?
Well, I feel like special
Marvin Mims and Khalif Raymond as punt returners.
Well, I do feel like special teamers rotate every single year. Like, you get one. You don't get to stay there. Unless you're Devin Hester or Dante Hall, you get one, and then you move on.
Ooh, what if Bassa becomes the Brendan Schooler or the JT Gray, the special teamer?
That's why I said I wasn't being that facetious.
Done and done. We'll take a timeout. Done with this segment. More Zone next. Trevor Sickman. We've talked to him for a couple of years now. And Sterling, have you heard this clip?
I have not, but I know which one it is. It's about the guy that is now I'll use a Seth Kaiser line, my new adult, new adult male child?
Well, yeah.
What is it?
It's referred to in the scouting business as his son or your kid. Or
My large adult.
When a scout is really enamored with a prospect.
My large adult
They'll say,
child.
like, hey, we're going to take your son in the 5th round.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. God, I hope my son's drafted in the 5th round. Be badass, man. I don't care what it is. You know. Here's Trevor Sickman on Omar Norman Lott.
He's just too good at the things that I gravitate towards for a 3-technique defensive tackle. He is so explosive off the ball. His hands are heavy and violent. They move very fast. He's got pass rush moves already. He's got a nasty stack and shed. He has long arms despite being shorter, which is the best part of being, that's what you want from a 3-technique defensive tackle, because that means that you're naturally going to play with leverage, and then you also have a length advantage to you. It's a double positive. So you take that with explosiveness, pass rush moves, and an innate ability to get into the backfield. I think his pass rush win percentage was like 18% this past season. I'm in, man. When he pins his ears back to go, he has better traits than basically everybody that's not Mason Graham, and I'll throw Walter Nolan in there as well.
Let's go.
So he's not a fan of Omar Norman Lott, Sickman. He's very wishy-washy on him.
He can join my fan club.
You got a nasty stack and shed, right?
I had a nasty shed.
Yeah, I know, right? You got to clean that out. Nasty stack and shed. Look at that stuff stacked over there. That shed is nasty over
I
there.
cleaned mine last spring. So.
Yeah, I mean,
for you,
is
Dylan.
that a character concern for Omar Norman Lott if his shed is nasty?
I think nasty sheds are good. You don't want clean sheds. You can't trust those guys.
He's spending more time on football.
Yeah, they're doing the
cleaning
great
the
point.
shed,
If you have a clean
When
shed,
you have time to mow
Get
the
off
lawn.
the shed!
Yeah, there you go.
you know what a clean shed?
Yeah.
Dexter. Dexter had a clean shed.
That's a good point.
That
you
is-
can't,
yeah,
and,
you know
and
what?
Boom.
Very true.
yeah, but was that a character concern or was that like
Yeah, that would be hard to use
Yeah.
that as a.
like what? I mean, how do you really like view that?
So
you know what I mean?
I'm thinking about making a T-shirt for the Omar Norman Lott fan club that I'm starting. I'm thinking like Omar
says president
Norman.
and vice president on it.
Yeah. Omar Norman Sandlot, and I get like a picture of him like with the Sandlot, like the like the T-shirt.
Yeah.
And it's like all the guys, but like they're superimposed. The defensive line faces over like, everyone, like Smalls, and
Yeah.
that'd be kind of fun. No, that's dumb.
No, you just have what you do is you have a T-shirt of Omar in the wire of Omar coming, and then you got a quarterback that he's getting ready to tackle. Omar
Jason had
coming.
that, yeah.
Oh,
yesterday, I think.
and also for Norman, I can do Norm from Cheers.
I think we already figured it out with the wire, man.
I don't know.
think
There's a
you're
lot.
looking
We'll
for too
have
much.
multiple shirts. We'll have multiple
you
shirts.
went Sandlot. You're going Cheers. What's the Cheers
There's
one?
no theme. There's no theme, but the theme is his name.
Mm-hmm.
The theme is Sacks. If Chris Jones is the president of Sack Nation, like
who would want to be compared to one of the most badass TV characters?
he should be, but Omar Norman Lott can be like the sergeant at arms because he's got long arms. Sorry, no, I'll go truck myself.
2025 edition with 7 draft picks. They're covering it all 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It is ESPN's Chiefs reporter, our Chiefs insider, joining us, Adam Teicher, here in the zone. Adam, how are you, sir?
Good, Jason. How you doing?
I am doing just fine. I was going to give you credit, but you totally missed the boat when we asked you who they're taking last Tuesday. You said they would take Josh Simmons at number 31, so you are dumb.
I would say I would try to do better next time, but I don't think there's going to be a next time.
That's
so
a good point.
I'm just have to live with that failure, I guess.
How does it feel that your last ever prediction for the Chiefs in the NFL draft was such a huge swing and miss?
Yeah, I whiffed, man. I took a swing. Hey, seriously, I knew the Chiefs liked him as a player, and I knew that they feel like he was the best when healthy. Throw that in there. When healthy, he was the best tackle in the draft, and maybe the best tackle going back several years. So they really felt good about him. And what I wasn't quite sure about was the medicals, although they kept having a look with him and kept up with him, so that led you to believe that they were very interested that he was going to pass their test in terms of where they thought he needed to be with the knee. So not a real surprise. Maybe at 32, but not at 31 for sure.
Yeah, the way that they were able to do it, I mean, it was great by Brett Veach. I mean, they pick up a 5th rounder. They didn't have a 5th rounder. They moved back one spot. And get the guy that they wanted to get anyway. And so, yeah, it was great. And, we've sort of talked about last Friday of like, okay, so how, you're wouldn't the Eagles then be like, nope, our guy's there. No, thank you, Brett Veach. We're not going to trade up. But these things are decided on like in pick 27, 28, or even 29, where it's agreed to that you're not really going to back out if you're Howie and say, oh, I'm sorry, our guy's there, because then if you agree to it, the Chiefs are no longer taking phone calls for 31. And they've sort of hung up the phone, kind of an agreement, right? Sort of a gentleman's agreement. And also, hey, who you taking? Defense. Also, gentleman's agreement that you're not just going to lie and take that particular spot. Also, they've got Mailata and Lane Johnson. Did they need a left tackle at that point at number 31 to trade up and get that? So I loved the move, and as you asked, Adam, a nice little golf clap again for Brett Veach trading back.
Yeah, he killed him to do it probably, but he did it, and so the Chiefs did get an extra pick out of that, and I think it was a good deal from the Eagles' point of view. If you get a guy you like, go get him, and I think the Eagles had 4 5th-round picks this year, so they could afford to spend one. So. I think it was probably a good deal all around.
Visiting with Adam Teicher from ESPN, the one thing around Josh Simmons now, and obviously the health is something that is going to dictate his career, but the question moving forward around Josh Simmons heading into the draft, Adam, when we created the hypothetical of if they solve the left tackle position at 2026 moving forward, and maybe not for 2025, is it worth it to take Josh Simmons, who may not help you this year? So I'll ask you, in your opinion, did they solve the problem at left tackle with Josh Simmons?
Yeah, well, as long as the knee tests out, and I don't know that anybody really knows the answer to that right now, but if the knee holds up and he can be the player that everybody thinks he is, then yes, I think it is. They have solved it. I don't think there's any question about that. So is it a little bit of a risk? Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Maybe not so much from a football standpoint, but there's some unknowns here with him, mostly around his knee. So, I'm interested to see how this turns out. But I think they have, and certainly it was worth the risk. Even if it doesn't work out, even if the knee just prohibits him from ever being the kind of player the Chiefs hoped he could be, I think this is worth it. That's a premium spot. They've had a lot of trouble ever since Eric Fisher finding a guy who could play that position for him long term. They've got another 5-6 years at least of Pat Mahomes at quarterback. This was worth the investment they made in him. If this had been the 10th pick in the draft, I might feel a little bit differently about that. But I definitely feel at 32, or even had they done it at 31, it would have been worth it.
And you know what? Without the patellar injury, they might have had to get up to 10 to draft him. I mean, and it's like go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
No, they really think so. I mean, they think if Simmons had played a full season and not had the knee injury, that he would have been a top 10 pick. So
we might have been had to be bad at football to get that pick.
Yes.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to take a risk like this if you're going to get the reward. It's maybe a higher risk than you might like, but the reward is going to be pretty good. Particularly, again, picking with the last pick in the first round.
And you know what? I mean, there's 3 ways that the Chiefs would be able to get a top pick like this if he were healthy like this, and where you look at the risk reward and is it worth it. And I definitely think it's worth it at pick number 32, especially picking up a 5th rounder. But there's 3 ways that you do that. You're either, if with the way that this team is constructed, you either have a season where it's just bad, and Adam, we know the path for this team to have a terrible season. It would be an injury to a particular player that would unravel the entire year. I choose not to have that as an option. The other one would be you've traded next year's first rounder and probably your second rounder, so you've traded whoever you get next year and then, say, Omar Norman Lott this year to move up to get him if he's healthy. Or you sit there at 31-32 and you take a guy that is there only because of A, an injury, or B, a character issue. That's the way you're going to get it if you're sitting in the Chiefs spot. Those are the 3 ways you can find somebody with top 15, top 10 talent.
Yeah, and in this case, the risk I felt like met the reward. If it doesn't work out for whatever reason, if he's just not the player the Chiefs think he will be, and he's just sort of a guy and hangs around for a few years and plays mediocre football and then moves on. Is that the worst thing in the world for the Chiefs? I mean, they can absorb that kind of blow. It's not ideal. I mean, I'm not saying that that's a good scenario or anything like that. I mean, but if that's the way this works out, they can absorb that blow. But if it does work out the way they'd hoped, I mean, this is a pretty big deal here.
Yeah, Brett Veach even said, and I know he said it in not trying to, hurt the feelings of Josh Simmons or whatever, or come off callous or anything when he said it's a blessing in disguise of the injury for the Chiefs, and it was because he's not there. So the blessing is he was there, but also if that knee holds up, and it certainly seems like the Chiefs feel like that's the case. What made me more comfortable, Adam, is hearing Brett Veach talk about the medicals and how they went about it. We had Evan Kraft on Thursday before the draft to actually talk about Josh Simmons, not knowing that the Chiefs would draft him, a guy that spent over a decade with the Chiefs as an assistant athletic trainer. And, what he talked about with the patellar injury, and they've gone through rehabs with some offensive linemen there in Kansas City with the patellar rupture. And he said it's incredibly crucial, the surgery. Like the surgery, how well that surgery is done. If the patellar is repaired and is a little bit higher than where it was on the kneecap, if it's a little bit lower, if it's, not in the same spot, like the surgery is important. And hearing that on Thursday, and then Thursday night, Adam, hearing multiple times Brett Veach saying, and Rick looked at it and it was a good surgery. And then coming back in, it was a good surgery. Like, I think he said it 3 different times. That wouldn't have really stood out to me of like, okay, cool, a good surgery. I would hope so. But hearing Evan Kraft talk about it earlier that day of, no, the surgery is pretty crucial for return to level of play for a patellar injury.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it made me feel better about it. And even one more, it even made me feel better when he told Rick Burkholder, this is the player, this is the injury. And he said Rick was leery and was like, I don't know. So he didn't go into it going, all right, let's find a way to draft this guy. Let's convince ourselves. He was skeptical and then came away confident.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did they have the same type of conversation about Trey Smith where initially the doctors thought, and then when they did take a look, they came back and said, okay, this could work? I don't know. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that was almost the same tenor of conversation around Trey Smith's medical.
Yeah, and they felt pretty comfortable, and obviously that one's worked out well. But this is a completely different issue. But and the Chiefs also believe that Simmons has done well in his post-surgical work. The rehab part of it. I mean, they feel like that's going pretty well, and the things they're looking for there and where he should be at this point in time. So I think there's a reasonable chance, maybe better than reasonable, that this works out in his favor, that this is going to be an inconvenience for a while, and then it'll be a memory.
Yeah. Visiting with Adam Teicher from ESPN. It was interesting that night after the fact, hearing, I think it was Jeremy Fowler that put out there that said teams that passed on Josh Simmons, that the medicals weren't the biggest issue to them. There were character concerns with Josh Simmons. And we hadn't heard that before. And that, gets released. And then Brett Veach is asked about it. Ryan Nutt weighs in on it yesterday. And it certainly sounds like character concerns, maybe it's all under one umbrella of maturity. But that certainly sounds, is what it sounds like, is there was a maturity issue going from San Diego State to Ohio State. What do you make of what Brett Veach said in their investigation, if you want to call it that, or looking for issues with the character at San Diego State and Ohio State, and then hearing Ryan Nutt yesterday talk about what they looked at, uncovered, and why they were comfortable with not thinking character was an issue with this guy?
Yeah, it's interesting, and hey, we'll see if they're right. That is another thing that goes into this, and we'll see if they're right. And they made the right call on that. I think the explanation makes some sense that he didn't, he'd been playing at San Diego State and didn't maybe early on at least realize what it took him. It was going to take him to play at a much bigger level of college football, and where the expectations are huge at a place like Ohio State as opposed to a place like San Diego State. So, hey, there's a lot of guys who are like this who have joined the Chiefs and maybe didn't really understand initially what it was going to take. And so I don't know. I think it's just a young guy, and it takes a while for him to learn something. I think that's probably the case. But, hey, this is an issue that bears watching for sure.
Yeah, and hearing Brett Veach say that the common theme from Ohio State was night and day since he arrived for him. And look, maybe you get away with some stuff at San Diego State, and then you're called on it at Ohio State, and maybe you don't like being called out on it, and then eventually you figure out what it takes to perform at that level, and then you get your act together. And you know what? He's not going to an organization that is a motley crew of guys in the locker room. It's a pretty buttoned-up locker room, and you're going to conform or you're going to find your way out the door. So he's walking into a place that has the leadership structure already.
So I think he'll be fine, but it does bear watching.
Yep. Adam Teicher is our guest from ESPN. What do you make of? Let's view it from an overall umbrella perspective, and then we can hone in on some of the draft picks that you may like / maybe have questions about. But what did you make of the 7 overall picks and the draft class, of what they addressed versus maybe what you felt like they needed to look at, address in positions to add some depth or playmakers, et cetera?
Yeah, well, positionally, they hit this just about right. We talked about certainly a left tackle. We talked about a couple of defensive linemen. We talked about a corner. We talked about a running back. We talked about a receiver. And then now they also got a linebacker as well. So, positionally, I think they did about what anybody who was paying attention to their roster expected them to do, and maybe it's because of that. I can see a path toward playing time for really all of these guys, all 7. Maybe not right away, maybe not as rookies necessarily, other than maybe on special teams. But I think there's going to be a path for playing time for everybody on this list, and I don't always see that. From time to time, or not from time to time, but pretty much every year you look at a draft pick and you go, where's he going to fit in? How is this ever going to be a place where he finds playing time? But I feel like with all of these guys, there's going to be a role for him here. Maybe not in 2025, but at some point they're going to get their chance to play, and I can see where they would fit in and help the Chiefs.
Visiting with Adam Teicher from ESPN. Let's talk about the second-round pick, because that seems to have a wide variance of how people feel about him. A lot of people felt like, well, maybe that was too early. He's not a guy that you would take in the second round. People had him ranked lower, and typically it's like, okay, the Chiefs reached because the consensus is that he was lower. But do other teams think the Chiefs reached? Like, do other teams look at it and go, damn it, they took Omar North. That's the guy we wanted. Like, who knows what's going on in the draft rooms? Because the only thing we know, Adam, about an NFL draft is if a team takes a player there, we know one team had the player at that level. If teams pass on a player, then that means all of the teams viewed a certain player that way. So it's like, this guy's sliding. Why is he sliding? Because the teams didn't view him the way that you viewed him in the scouting. But if a guy goes top 20, it's like, I didn't think he was top 20. What did the league think? I don't know, but I know what one team thought. So we know what one team thought about Omar Norman-Lott if he was worth the 63rd overall pick. What do you make of that one? Because some of the criticism is he was a rotational player and couldn't see the field full time at Tennessee, and now a second rounder to come in to join the Chiefs defensive line.
Yeah, I wonder about that a little bit. And is he ever going to be a full-time player? I mean, you like to think that a guy picked in the second round can get a big chunk of the snaps eventually. If not as a rookie, then eventually he could be a regular in there. And so I don't know if he can be that kind of guy. I know the Chiefs felt like the pass rushing. His pass rushing skills made him that kind of value, and they felt like that with Gillott as well. That that the pass rushing skills were going to make him valuable to them. They felt like besides Chris Jones and Karlaftis, did they have really anybody who can get after the passer the way they want, and that's particularly after losing Tershawn Wharton now. So they felt like they had to have some guys. Did they reach and maybe? At least in the case of Norman Lott, possibly. But I'm not as caught up in the part-time player that he was at Tennessee. I don't know what went into that, but they had some other guys who were pretty good players in there, and I feel like in college sometimes, do you need to make a recruit happy? Do you need to, is there a guy who, the coaching staff has made some promises to in order to keep him? He's playing more than a guy who maybe deserves it more. So I don't know if that's the case or not, but that could be, what went into this situation here. But, I think he'll be a decent player. But is he ever going to be more than just kind of a what Tershawn Wharton was for the Chiefs? So, and if he develops that kind of player, that's good. But I would think when you spend a second-round pick, you'd want a little more. Yeah,
I look at it in and certainly that second-round pick, because getting great value out of Noel Williams and Jalen Royals that most people thought, wow, Noel Williams shouldn't have been there in the third round or certainly at pick number 85. Jalen Royals, a guy that, from Utah State, shouldn't have been there in the fourth round with pick 133 and things like that, second and third round grades. I look at it as sort of an overall. And again, people can say, well, you got value there in the third and fourth, but if you would have, gotten real value in the second, then it helps out as well. But if we look at somebody's draft board, like Dane Brugler and the beast that he puts out there, Jalen Royals, he has as a 63rd overall player. Noel Williams, a 66th overall player. Ashton Gillotte, a 78th overall player. And Omar Norman-Lott, not ranked in the top 100. If Jalen Royals is taken at pick 63 and Noel Williams is taken at pick 66 and Gillotte is taken at pick 78 or 85 and Omar Norman-Lott is taken at pick 133, no one's complaining. Exactly. But you got those four out of those four picks. So is that the only way you could have grabbed Omar Norman-Lott, was that specific position? Because he ain't going to be there in the fourth round, and he may not have been there at pick 85 that they traded up to get Noel Williams.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not as hung up on that as maybe some other people are. The Chiefs do their research. Doesn't mean they're always going to be right, for sure. I mean, but I feel like that he'll be able to help them in whatever role, Norman Lott, and and if not, then certainly there's going to be you have to be some pointed questions asked in that case.
All right, some news with the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's something that Sterling and I discussed in the previous hour, and was going to bring it up with you, and here we go. May 1st, the deadline for the fifth-year option to be picked up on players drafted in 2022. The Chiefs have officially picked up the fifth-year option on both Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis. So there you go. Any surprise, Adam, with that from Trent and George?
No, Brett Veach said as much when he talked a few days before the draft, the week before the draft. He said, we're not letting these guys go anywhere, and maybe they can get a long-term deal with either one or both worked out before they need to use the fifth-year option. But you always want to keep good players around, and this gives them a little bit of insurance. So no surprise in either case.
Yep. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling, talking with Adam Teicher. We'll get his thoughts on some picks that maybe he liked, value there. We asked the question of if a player turns out to be an all-pro of this draft class, who would the Chiefs benefit the most from that particular player? And then where do the Chiefs need to go, if anywhere, now before training camp to address any spots on the team? We'll continue rolling along, hanging out with Adam Teicher from ESPN Chiefs Insider. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, hanging out with Adam Teicher from ESPN Chiefs Insider, looking at this Chiefs draft, the 7 picks that they take. Adam, is there a selection outside of Simmons? We talked about him and Omar Norman Lott. Is there a pick value-wise, positional-wise, ability, at least a prospective ability that you liked in this particular draft?
Yeah, there's probably a couple of those guys. Noel Williams, I think, is an interesting guy, in large part because the Chiefs can be losing a lot at the end of the year. They're going to be losing probably, or at least the contracts are going to be up for Najee Johnson and Josh Williams and Jalen Watson. So they're really going to be, he looks like he's going to be a big part of their playing future at cornerback. So Noel Williams is one, and I think Brashard Smith is another one. The Chiefs had him, the grade on him a lot higher than a seventh-round pick. They just didn't have any picks for a couple of rounds there, so they had to wait to get to him. But when he was there, they obviously, as we know, they traded way up in the seventh round to get him. So part of it is his skill set, but also part of it with him is I don't see that running back depth chart just – I don't see a whole lot there. I see an Isaiah Pacheco who, he didn't play well last year. Maybe part of that was coming off the injury, but can he get that back? Maybe he can, but maybe he can't. And Kareem Hunt, where is he in his career? Does he have much left? And Elijah Mitchell's been hurt for most of last season and all of most of the last 3 seasons and all of last season. So can he get back to what he was? I just don't see a sure thing. So I think there's going to be some real opportunity from Brashard Smith to get some playing time if he and we'll see if he's ready to take advantage of that. But I think he might be, and the other way he could factor in is as a kick returner. The Chiefs are, like all teams, probably are going to be looking to upgrade their kickoff return game with the new rule change. So, is he a guy who can do that? So I really think those are the two guys, other than Josh Simmons. So those are the two guys who immediately stand out to me.
Yeah, with Brashard Smith as the running back, I thought it was interesting. Yesterday Ryan Nutt talking about that in the 5th round they were looking at running back, and then Bossa was there, and it was like, well, he's clearly the best player on our board here. We're looking running back, but the value we were going to go with and follow our board, and they did. And after that, he said, it was definitely running back and a guy they wanted, and Brashard Smith's still there, and they're like, this guy, like, that's who we want, and he's still there, so it's worth trading a couple of 7th-rounders to move up and grab him. And this is what we have talked about for a couple of years, Adam, is having a running back with some juice that can hit a home run, that can be in the passing game and take a screen and get to top speed and pick up the extra yards because he's quicker, outside zone, things like that. What's interesting to me is that he's such a good wide receiver. I mean, obviously he's played wide receiver, and this last year at SMU played running back, but the wide receiver traits like toe drags on the sideline, catching with his hands, jump balls at times even as a running back, and then the run after catch with him, with Jalen Royals. And throw in Rashee Rice, when he returns from injury/suspension, and even, Xavier Worthy getting him out in space. Like, there's a clear emphasis with the Chiefs that these teams are playing deeper. They're playing the shell coverage. We're going to put the ball in guys' hands with the run after catch and create space for them, get them out, and let them run because we're not able to hit them over the top as much, even though they want to make that an emphasis. But Smith, in space, run after catch. Jalen Royals, Rashee Rice sort of look like each other, and obviously Xavier Worthy last year. Like, put the ball in their hands, let them go to work.
Yeah, and I think Elijah Mitchell has some of that too.
Yeah.
So, I think when the Chiefs talk about both those guys, meaning Mitchell and with Brashard Smith, the possibility of them being threats when the Chiefs go to empty backfields, that those guys can help them out in those spots in particular. So, a lot of versatility with Brashard Smith, I think, particularly in the passing game. I just, again, I'm just a little bit underwhelmed with what the Chiefs have in their running back group right now. So I think there will be some opportunity to claim that, and I'm wondering whether he's, whether having been mostly a wide receiver in college, whether he's ready to claim that, or whether there's going to be some developmental time there.
Yeah, I saw one of the scouting reports, because if you're going to be a guy who's a pass-catching running back, and so that's probably third down, then you better protect. And one of it was listed as a weakness was the pass protection, and it said willing to put his body, essentially like he's not afraid to take on the contact, but it said angles and technique are lacking, and he hasn't played running back very much. So that would make sense, is that to be the case. But if he's a guy that's willing to put his body out there, it's just a technique thing. I feel good about that. He's not afraid of the contact. He just needs to be coached up how to do it.
A lot of running backs will tell you that's more than half the battle is the desire to do that, because that's a dirty job.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of fun. And so if you want to do it, if you want to be good at it, you should be eventually. Now, he's not the biggest guy in the world, so that factors into it as well. But there have been plenty of smaller backs who've been pretty good at that, over the years.
I trusted McKinnon in the backfield when it was if it was third down and somebody was blitzing. I trusted McKinnon to take care of it. And he's a smaller guy.
Exactly. So that's the a perfect example right there. So I do think that he'll be able to pick that up. How quickly, I don't know. We'll see. You
think the drafting of Noel Williams, the signing of Christian Fulton, and some of the comments from Trent McDuffie last Monday with Phase 1 opening up, that there's even a better chance now that we might see more full-time Trent McDuffie in the slot?
Yeah, I do. I think there's a real possibility of that. Noel Williams is an outside corner, and that's how the Chiefs are going to use him. And so, it's entirely possible that the top four corners next year are McDuffie, Fulton, Watson, and Noel Williams. And how much Williams plays, I don't know. We'll have to figure. He'll have to earn it, I guess. But with McDuffie moving inside when the Chiefs go to the nickel. So I definitely think that's in the plans, no doubt.
Visiting with Adam Teicher, this may be a very easy answer. We asked it in the first hour amongst ourselves, and I'll ask you. If one of these 7 players becomes an All-Pro, and that's, obviously, it's difficult to project, but in this hypothetical, one of these becomes an All-Pro, which one is the most beneficial for the Chiefs?
You mean is you including Josh Simmons
in
on this?
Yes,
or
any of them, yes, including Josh Simmons. That's the obvious one. We all said, okay, that's number 1.
Yeah.
So we then said, okay, what about number 2?
I would have to go with Josh Simmons because that's a position that's been a problem for the Chiefs, and if he can lock that down over the last half or whatever of Mahomes' career, that's a huge deal for them. So I'd have to go with him. Other than that, wow, any of these guys, if it works out into that type of player, I'd probably tend to go with Omar Norman-Lott, just because of the position he plays. I mean, if he's going to be a Pro Bowler, he's going to be getting some sacks. He's going to be the kind of player the Chiefs want. Maybe he's kind of that heir apparent to Chris Jones and give him some of the production that they probably won't be getting from Chris Jones in a few years here. So I guess I would say Omar Norman-Lott in that respect.
Yeah, that's Norman-Lott and Gelati are the players that we landed on, just because of that exact thing. Like, okay, if you can get a guy that plays opposite Karlaftis and Gelati that grows into that, well, it's less of a pain if FAU does not develop. And if Norman-Lott becomes that, well, how many more years does Chris Jones have left at a high level? So certainly. But, yes, we all agree that number 1, Josh Simmons, and then a gap, and then, other guys, because they've been searching for that position for so long. Last one for you, Adam Teicher from ESPN Chiefs Insider. Is there anything you feel like they still need to address with this team now that the draft is over, free agency is over? Is there a spot that you feel like still could be lacking from a depth perspective or something along those lines?
Yeah, I was wondering about tight end. I thought they might draft a tight end, and the Chiefs obviously have Kelsey and Noah Gray, and Jared Wiley's coming off the injury, and I would expect he'd be back at some point, maybe during camp, or maybe even for the start of camp. We'll see. Probably going to have to be a little while longer for him. And then what's he going to be? So I don't think there's a lot of depth there. I looked at their list of the undrafted free agents, and there's one of the names did catch my eye, and he is a tight end, Jake Brenningstool from Clemson. I'm wondering whether he can be of help to them. Whether he can be a guy who can be a value. If not as a rookie, then somewhere down the lines. But yeah, I think tight end would be an area I would keep an eye on if I was the Chiefs between now and the start of training camp.
And we'll see what ends up happening with that. Adam Teicher from ESPN, our Chiefs insider. Adam, you're the man. Appreciate it as always, brother. We'll continue our conversations and talk as OTAs and phases continue to go along. Thank you, sir.
Good stuff, Jason. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. There's Adam Teicher from ESPN joining us and covering his final draft there at Arrowhead on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and hearing the comments from Ryan Nutt yesterday and Brett Veach and Bradway and those guys over the weekend talking about these draft picks. And so I think we all agree. Like, number one, then a wide gap between Josh Simmons if somebody does become that sort of all-pro, and he went with Norman Lott. And then also talking about Gelati there, but a need that maybe still he would like to see addressed. He listed tight end at that spot, and the draft pick not named Josh Simmons of the rest of the draft that he really liked, value, positional, everything was Noah Williams and Brashard Smith. Those are the two that he ended up naming there.
Tight end, I understand, but I still have some questions of how does the roster construction work then? Because I feel like if you bring in a tight end, then you're leaving Jared Wiley off, or you're hoping he makes it to your practice squad. Because Kelsey has one more year. You re-sign Noah Gray. Obviously, Jared Wiley on the contract of the rookie deal. But if you bring in a fourth tight end, we all imagine it's going to be that blocking, that Robert Tonyan type. It's going to be the Blake Bell type almost. You want someone who can come in and be a good blocking tight end, because that's not Kelsey, not Gray, that's not Wiley. So I get the thought process, but it has to be a very specific tight end almost. If you're going to bring in another tight end, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe it doesn't matter, but I feel like if the Chiefs do bring another tight end, it would be a block first guy, which it feels like they already have on their practice squad /
We said Jake Brenningstool, the guy that it caught his eye as a tight end from Clemson. One of the analysis on Brenningstool seems to be more of a wide receiver than a tight end. He's 6'6", 240. If he can improve his route running nuance and playmaker mentality after the catch, he could become a big slot wide receiver 3 type. Until then, more of a developmental depth player. And again, he's a priority free agent. He wasn't drafted for a reason,
which is fine if that's on your practice squad. I have no issue.
Yeah,
It comes down to stashing them on the roster. I feel like the roster construction wouldn't make a ton of sense. Again, the receiver first type of tight end, you have 3 of those guys right now already on your roster.
Yeah. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and continue rolling. I do want to talk about one particular spot of interest that I looked at of maybe could still be addressed. And also Brandon Beane, the GM of the Buffalo Bills, addressing criticism that's there about not drafting a wide receiver. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. If you look at some of the draft boards and who the Chiefs signed as undrafted free agents, there's a number of them that rank in the top 200 of some draft boards. Elijah Badger from Florida is a guy that, interesting, 6'1", 200, plays on the outside, 0 drop passes the last 2 years. Is a guy that's described as sticky-handed receiver. So that's good. He catches everything thrown his way. That's a good part of being a receiver, is if the ball's thrown your way, you catch it. Because there's another guy out of Florida that didn't do that for the Chiefs.
He was just wide.
They were open. It just wasn't catching it. That's a good point.
It's wide receiver, just wide.
Receiver. He's just wide. He just lined up wide on the line of scrimmage. So that's what he did. And he does line up out wide, and he also receives, so that's good.
Good.
And then Brennan Sewell, the tight end, as we talked about there as well. There is a position though that I think could still be addressed by the Chiefs, and oddly enough, they addressed it in the second round, and it's defensive tackle for me. Last year in the Super Bowl, they've got Chris Jones, Mike Pennell, Derek Nottie, Turk Wharton, and right now, if you're looking at legitimately who are the realistic defensive tackles, it's like, oh, this guy's on the practice squad, this guy you take it's Chris Jones, Mike Pennell, Jerry Tillery, and Omar Norman Lott.
Yeah.
So you've got one guy that's there that's not like maybe you take a chance or maybe you have somebody else that's on your roster, practice squad, reserve futures contract, things like that, that can be a run stopper, first down defensive tackle that can take up some blocks to keep Nick Bolton or Drew Tranquil a little more clean, as opposed to what Tillery and Omar Norman Lott do. And it's also a lot on the shoulders of a Mike Pennell who's older, that if he goes down, well, now who's filling that spot because there isn't a Derek Nottie. And that's where, you would have had to give up one of these draft picks to switch it out and take somebody else. In the third round, Jamari Caldwell that went to the Chargers is a huge man that is a nose tackle / space eater defensive tackle. Fourth round, C.J. West. We talked about him with Kent Swanson last week out of Indiana. He went to San Francisco in the fourth round. Again, space eater. And then Cameron Jackson went to Carolina in the fifth round, a guy who I think is 6'5", 350. It's ridiculous how big the man is. And I think just standing there, he takes up 2 blockers. But again, he was a fifth rounder. So it's not like you're talking about a first round talent there. He may not make the team. We thought maybe Condre Coburn, things like that. These guys are going to make the team. What a great pick. But typically early on defensive tackles, you're not getting run-stopping defensive tackles. Early on defensive tackles, you're getting guys that stop the pass, that get after the passer, that can pass rush. Those are the guys you're getting. Or all around. This guy's a great run stopper, point of attack, sheds the block, and then also can go and rush the passer. Those are your elite of elite guys. And so that's one area that, okay, would I have liked to see them address? Certainly, but am I going to give up Noel Williams for Jamari Caldwell to come in and be a run-stopping nose tackle? I don't know. Am I giving up Jalen Royals to get C.J. West in the fourth round? Would I give up Jeffrey Bassa for Cameron Jackson? I might. That might be the spot where I look at it and go, all right, and they clearly loved Bassa. Is that a guy that you go and draft as opposed to Cameron Jackson as a more of a space eater? Now, given it's not that simple because they would have had to move up to get Cameron Jackson or just Cam Jackson. And if he was there, maybe that's who they take instead of Bassa. Maybe it's boom. That's wow. I can't believe this guy's here. Great. Now we've got Pennell and Jackson to be nose tackles early downs to take up space and keep Nick Bolton or Drew Tranquil or Leo Chanel clean. Or I guess it wouldn't be Boss at that point, clean. Pennell's on the roster, and that's kind of it.
I would have loved Desmond Watson, the UDFA from Florida, the 464-pound guy.
Yeah, I'll take that guy, yeah.
He got picked up by Tampa Bay. I was actually looking to see if he got picked up. He got picked up by Tampa. Or already he's down to 400 pounds, which is actually
that sucks.
pretty.
What are you doing?
464 was nearly the largest man in the NFL
in the world
by nearly 100 pounds. The previous record was 370, I think, at the pro day.
Florida kid.
The Florida guy. I'm talking about Desmond Watson. Yeah. I thought he actually could have been
not the other Florida
intriguing.
kid, Cam Jackson. That's 6'4", 350. He's not 4 something, you know.
Yeah. So he got down to apparently 400 now. So that's good for him.
Got down to 400. I love that.
Is he in ketosis right now, Dylan? Is he?
He's well past that if he's down
Atkins.
To 400. Yeah.
So actually, I thought it was interesting, but I think you're right. D tackle is a spot where I think the Chiefs could still look, unless they think, and maybe I'm wrong here, but Marlon Tuipulotu has been on the practice squad for a while now. Does he finally get a
right? And that's what I said. Like,
or?
Is it a guy like that comes in and it's like, all right, well, because there is my worry would be he gets that spot because nobody else is there to play it, as opposed to he gets that spot because he's earned it. He's on the team, and wow, look at what he's been able to do.
Sure.
It's like, well, we need somebody else that can stop the run as a nose tackle, especially if Pennell's banged up, because early downs. Who's playing next to Chris Jones? It ain't Tillery. I don't want Tillery and Chris Jones playing in the interior on early downs and a defensive tackle, because that's a lot of shedding of blockers that Nick Bolton or Drew Tranquil is going to have to do, because guys get into the second level and sliding, Tillery or Chris Jones, not necessarily Chris Jones, but he can cheat from time to time. Chris Jones can, instead of point of contact, find the runner, shed the blocker, go get him. That's the worry I would have right now, early down, as to what still could be addressed is defensive tackle. Stopping the run specifically.
Yeah, I think you're right, because you're not playing Mike Pennell Jr. that many snaps, especially early on, just with his age and everything. He's not going to be playing 60 snaps a game. That's just, for a man his size, that's absurd. You're right, Chris Jones and Tillery together, you get a little juice, but on first and second down, is that the way you're trying to roll that thing? I don't know. Omar Norman Lott is, I think, what you hoped Jerry Tillery was supposed to be coming out of college, yet never really transpired. Yeah, you're right. I actually do think it'd probably be, looking at right now as it stands, you're probably seeing Marlon Tuipulotu getting a decent amount of work on first and second downs, kind of rotating in and out with Mike Pennell Jr. on first and second down before the third downs of Tillery and Omar Norman Lott. And who knows when Omar Norman Lott's going to take over that role. But yeah, that's an interesting talking point, and I didn't really think of it that way. But how much will we actually see Chris Jones and Tillery on first and second down, because Tillery's not known for being a run stuffer either.
Mm-hmm. The Keziah Izzard is the undrafted free agent that they signed at defensive tackle out of Penn State that put up great counting stats and wasn't invited to the combine, but at his pro day, as a guy who is a massive individual. Trying to see the size.
How do you spell his name?
Cosiah.
Cosiah.
Izzard is traditional spelling of Izzard. But he's a guy that had, 17 and a half tackles for loss, 9 sacks. That is in his career, by the way. 78 tackles as a defensive tackle. But he was not invited to the combine, and then at the pro day, he runs a 4.85 40-yard dash. And he's 6'3", 298, so he's going to be more of that 3 technique as well. But a 1.56 10-yard split, which is ridiculous. 25 bench press reps and 33.5 on the vertical jump. So certainly an athletic profile there from the guy. But that's the guy they sign, who isn't necessarily that guy that's going to be a big old guy that just clog up the interior to take up some of that space, to keep some guys clean is what I'd like to see, and maybe they still end up with that. Maybe there's a free agent or a trade or something along those lines that happens along the way. But, we'll see what takes place with that.
Yeah, but I think you're right. That D-tackle spot's still the spot that they could use another body. Edge, they're probably filled.
I'm good at almost everything except for depth at stopping the run at defensive tackle. That's really it.
Yeah, because you look at even linebacker, you have right now, I'd say 5 guys.
4 or 5, yeah.
Because the contract you gave to Jack Conklin as a special teamer, basically, he's probably making it. So you have Drew, Nick, Leo, Jack, and then Jeffrey. Cornerbacks, you have 6. McDuffie, Watson, Fulton, Williams, Nazi, Joshua Williams. Safety, you have 4. Hicks, Mike Edwards. I'm putting Shamari Connor back at safety.
I agree. I think he is.
And then Brian Cook, and then you have Deion Bush as probably your in case of emergencies
practice squad
guy. I think Christian Roland Wallace is also your practice squad guy as far as a slot corner. So defensively, you kind of got your guys. Edges, you have Dana, Gelati, FAU, Aminahu, Karloftis, and maybe Malik Herring, right? Because they've kept him around in that role for a while now. I guess I'm just intrigued to see how the roster crunch ends up. I know this is April 29th,
right,
we're doing this April 29th, and injuries happen, which is unfortunate and all that stuff. But you're right. If I'm going through everything defensively, that's the one spot where I'm like, yeah, they could probably use that guy. And that is a defensive run. What do you think Vince Wilfork's doing? Tell him to throw those overalls and put a Chief jersey on. I'm sure at age, however old Vince Wilfork is, he can still, stop someone.
Yeah. The other defensive tackle that the Chiefs have as a minicamp invite, rookie minicamp, is Nathan Kapongo from Akron, who is even more undersized. He's 6'4", 285, and ran a 4.78 40-yard dash and a ridiculous vertical. And, again, an athletic guy that seems like, again, more pass rusher. I think there's a clear theme what the Chiefs are trying to address.
Yes.
As the defensive line, because your 2 defensive tackles you brought in as an undrafted free agent and then as a minicamp invite are undersized, more of the pass rusher guys. You draft that in Omar Norman Lott, and then you draft Gelati, that's going to be a pass rusher as well. Speed to power that Ryan Nutt talked about of what he really does well. They want to get after the passer in different ways and get yourself a lead.
Yeah.
Have more of an explosive offense, and then just pin your ears back and get after the passer and go wreak some havoc and cause turnovers. Because this team, if you're not hitting the quarterback, odds are you're not causing turnovers.
Sure. And they went out and got a cornerback in Noel Williams, who we know has he at least finds the ball. I like the thought process behind it, especially if the offense is going to revert back, because that's why the defense was able to get away with it when the offense was putting up 30-plus points. Because they were getting so many sacks. That's what it came down to. They couldn't stop the run, but when you're going up 14 points, well, the teams no longer run the football because they have to pass, and your team was built for sacks.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense. It's going to put a lot of, as it stands right now, a lot of pressure on Nick Bolton.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure on Bolton, which is, again, that's why you signed him to that contract. Pressure or not, Bolton's now going to have a tougher workload if you don't have a guy up in the middle who can at least slow the RB down. Maybe we will see more of a traditional 4-3. Doubtful, but with Leo Chanel getting more snaps because we know he's good against the run. But, yeah, that's going to put a lot of pressure on those linebackers, and Drew Tranquil as well, a little lighter-bodied linebacker as far as you got to get downhill then. You're going to have to wrap up.
One of the underrated signings, I think, and maybe it's something we talk about as it gets closer to training camp, is Eddie Zaplicki from USC, the punter, the guy who won the Ray Guy Award, the best punter in the country. And the Chiefs signed him to an undrafted free agent when they just got Matt Ariza last year. And they get this guy that led the country in yards per punt and punts inside the 20. And so they go out and bring in the best punter as an undrafted free agent. Also, if you're the agent of the guy who's one of the best, if not the best punting prospect, are the Chiefs where you want to go and they just got Ariza? Or do you feel like the Chiefs are where you go because they're interested in you because they aren't as satisfied with Ariza as people were thinking they would be because of him being nicknamed the punt god and the booming punts that he can't find a way to land inside the 20?
Yeah.
And so, no. Sign with us here in Kansas City. He has a legit chance of being the punter on this team. We'll see. I think it's interesting that because when you're undrafted, you choose, right?
Yeah, that's true.
We can go wherever. All right, this team has no punter. Let's go there. Okay, this team just got one of the best punters available and only available because of what happened off the field. And that's where you choose to go and sign with.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting development for training camp, something there along the lines. And maybe he doesn't win the job, but he impresses enough that he goes somewhere else. We saw that with Detroit Lions punter was it Fox? Yeah, that's who it was. Les Norman coming up next. Let's talk some baseball. Hanging out here on a Tuesday edition of The Zone. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. It's time to break the norm. We do that with Les Norman, presented by TruckMovers.com and First Federal Bank of Kansas City. Les, welcome to the show, sir. How are you, man?
Fantastic. Jam into the Scorps.
There you go.
Hey, Dylan.
Sure, I'll take your word for
buddy.
it, man. Yeah, Dylan is killing it, man. When Les is in, Dylan has a hit. Les and Matt Derrick. Dylan enjoys that hour of playing some music with power ballads and some from Matt Derrick and rocking out with Les Norman.
You
so.
could do that for me every time,
No, you
Dylan,
can't.
and I'd
No,
be
don't worry
all
about
the
him.
way in.
You're not a guest
I
on the show,
love the
though.
Scorpions.
But you're not a guest.
They're German. They're German, which is why when you listen to Rocky Like a Hurricane, you realize, wow, those are some freaky dudes.
Yeah, and they've been playing live shows since 1874.
Yeah, they're like 75 years old, and you hear that
At
song,
least.
and you
A
go,
long time.
that's a little... You're probably not going to rock me like a hurricane. You might
There's
small wave
Walk me like a hurricane.
and walk you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well done.
I like that. It's the Royals pitchers were not doing that against the Houston Astros, at least on Friday and Saturday. Unfortunately, Bubic did that right before the 3-run home run. But Friday and Saturday they were not because, good God, Lugo and Waka were on fire. How about Matt Quatrero saying Friday night, Les, that was the best he's seen Seth Lugo pitch.
Interestingly,
Finished second in the Cy Young last year.
yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, wow. But I get his point because there was a time where he was commanding everything, no matter what he threw. He threw where he wanted to, and there were a couple strikes that didn't get called. I think like the second pitch of the game was a
Yes.
strike and didn't get called, and like the fifth pitch, and Lugo showed a little bit of irkiness, but still, he commanded the zone, and guys looked like I mean, they're major league hitters, and so as a major league hitter, if you start guessing, you're in the tank. But with Seth Lugo, he's got like 9 or 10 pitches, and so you almost have to guess. Because by the time you realize, that's going to be a strike, you haven't pulled the trigger, and then he beats you with the fastball, and he short arms it, so he's sneaky quick, but he's already throwing like low to mid 90s anyway, and can light it up a little bit there too. So man, what a masterful job. I kind of agree. It was one of his best performances.
It was brilliant watching him. And it's not just that he's on my fantasy baseball team. It's just that it was fun to watch.
So he's making you money.
Him go out and do that. Waka helped as well. I ended up with Waka as like one of my last pitchers on my roster. So, finally, Michael, let's get it together. You know what I mean? Yeah. Figure some things out, dude.
The offense has not bailed out our pitching staff very much. So
no, it's so great that you look at those guys, and wins are such a fickle stat in baseball, and especially in fantasy baseball. Like when you're playing rotisserie leagues and you're just looking at the counting stats and wins, it's like you don't really go out and draft for wins, because how do you know where the wins are going to come from? Where you got Brandon Pfaadt with the Diamondbacks, who has 5 wins already. He's got 5 wins already.
And he fought with the Diamondbacks.
That's exactly right. It's P-Fought, kind of like P-psychology, or P-psychiatrist. But you got Lugo and Waka that are pitching the way they are, but no run support, at all. And wins are so fickle, and why I do appreciate that more of the advanced numbers don't just look at, this guy won 20 games, therefore he wins the Cy Young.
Yeah.
He's got a 4.2 ERA, but he won 21 games. That's the job of a pitcher, is to win the game. Well, yeah, I think in general it is, but if that guy's going out and leaving the 5th inning with a lead, or I guess leaving the 6th, I should say, after the 5th inning with a lead of 7-4, he gets the win. Did he really do the job of a guy that left after the 7th inning trailing 1-0? I'll take that guy there. So, look, when the Royals' offense is struggling, Friday and Saturday typically is how they're going to have to win some of these games against good baseball teams.
Yeah, absolutely going to have to do it. And they had the staff to do that. I would like to see Lorenzen figured out a little bit. He's leaving it over the plate. He's leaving it up a little bit. I think just an early hiccup with Bubic, but I think he's looked really good, especially coming back from surgery. I mean, he takes the mound. I'm still not 100% in the mindset that that's all healthy Chris Bubic. I still kind of see that, he is coming off of some major surgery, so I know he's 100%. He's pitching well, but in the back of my mind, there's that stay healthy. Don't run his pitch count up too high. But, overall, a little bit of a Reagan's hiccup, and then Lorenzen has really kind of, to me, been the only difficulty maybe, or negative that you see in this rotation, which continues to point back to the offense sputtering and not getting into 5 runs a game or 4.8 or whatever it is. It's still low. So I would like to see them snap out of it. Early signs of a couple guys, but overall pitching's been fantastic.
I want to talk about a couple of guys in the lineup for the Royals and the mindset and what confidence and belief may do to a player. We talked last Tuesday, and at that point, it was 2 games that Drew Waters had played since MJ Melendez was sent down, and they kept him up when Mark Canha came off the IL. He was 0 for 4 or 0 for 2 on Saturday with 2 walks.
Mm-hmm.
And then
still a good day.
Yeah, on Sunday against Skubal, he goes 2 for 4 with one of the RBIs off of Skubal and scored a run. And they were getting ready to play Colorado that night to start the 6-game homestand. And we were talking about this team being 9-14 and things like that. So we had talked about just a couple of games. But if we look at since MJ Melendez was sent down, there are 8 games that Drew Waters has played in. Which is every single game. The 6 games in the homestand and the 2 games there in Detroit. Sterling, go ahead and take a drink there, small sample size.
Thank you. I was thirsty.
30 plate appearances in these 8 games. He's batting .370. He's getting on base at .433, and he's slugging .704 for a 1.137 OPS. Again, small sample size. We know that. But maybe this is just a hot streak or whatever, but he was kind of just there and playing a little bit, spot duty and not doing much. Was batting, in fact, 174 before MJ got sent down, and all he's done is bat 370 since. How much of that is just, there's a belief in me, now let me go play?
Yeah, we talked about that last time.
After two games.
Yes.
And 6 games later, this guy's even better.
Nobody probably felt better about himself, not against MJ Melendez, but when Melendez got sent down instead of him, or he gets called up and then Canna comes off, and then when and you have a belief that, oh, wow, okay, they have faith in me, I'm going to be here, it makes you look at things differently. It makes you play a little bit differently. Now, you shouldn't ever play the game differently in the sense that you're going to play hard all the time, but when somebody has faith in you, you tend to really lock in. The world gets a little bit smaller in a good way. You're able to get zoned in a good way. And I'm contributing. I'm a big leaguer. I'm part of this instead of on the outside looking in and they're just using me until something better comes along. And as you see him hit, he's pounded mistakes. He's hit some triples, hit a home run. He's hit the ball in the gap. He's hit the ball down the line.
He's got 5 extra base hits in those 8 games.
Right. And you can see even down the right field line when he pulls the ball in the left-handed batter's box, he's not hooking the ball. He's staying inside the ball. And even when he doesn't get complete good contact on it where he might get jammed just a little bit or off the end of the bat, he's still not hooking the ball. So he's taking good at-bats. He'll have an at-bat where he'll swing at a change-up and pull off the ball, and he won't look very good. And then the next at bat, you're thinking, oh, okay, well, now he's going to snap out of it. There's the real Drew Waters coming out. And he makes an adjustment, and he goes the other way because the pitcher tries to come back and do the same thing. So it's not just the batting average that I'm seeing. It's the confidence that I'm seeing. It's the adjustments he's making mid-flight, and it's the mistakes that he's hitting. He hasn't missed many mistakes. Is Drew Waters going to hit 370, in 3 months if he's healthy and he's still playing every day? No. He's not going to hit 370. He's probably going to hit anywhere maybe between 270 to 300, somewhere in there. I would absolutely take that. But there's going to be a lot of extra base hits in there because he can run. He can take the extra base. He can steal bases. He's a good outfielder. He's not a great outfielder, but he's a good outfielder. And what we've had in the Royals' over patience with MJ Melendez, it is a huge bonus to have Drew Waters in there. And they have to, if he goes into a little bit of a slump, they got to stay with him and let him keep playing because he has really energized what's been kind of a fickle and feeble offense to this point.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was wondering when it comes to the mindset of a player. So he has batted in the lineup 9th, 7th, 8th, 7th, 8th, 8th, 7th, 9th, 8, 8, 8, 7, 9, 8. That's where he's been in the lineup. And since MJ was sent down, his spots in the lineup in these 8 games have been 7, 9, 8, 8, 8, 7, 9, 8. Batting like this is part of it because he's in the bottom third, and it's like, okay, you're not necessarily expected to be a producer. I don't know if a player approaches it that way of I'm in the bottom of third. They don't really care what I do here, as opposed to I'm doing my job because I'm playing for a job almost every at bat. I'm playing to stay here. Would it put pressure or affect what he's done so far if they slide him up to number 5 to be behind Salvi and take out somebody who has been just a black hole in Michael Massey, who's OPSing at 250 behind Salvi, and move him down the lineup and move Waters and take advantage more of this, even if this is just a crazy hot streak, take advantage of this hot streak where it's India, Bobby, Vinny, Salvi, Waters.
The unfortunate situation is you've got so many guys at or below 200 that you might have to actually make that move. You might have to put him up there because if he's one of the few guys that are actually performing and that's your RBI shot, and at least he's going to put the ball in play and give you a chance there, then yes, you have to do it. If I'm Drew Waters, in my mind, what you're going to say is anything to help the team, anything to help the team. It's the pre-scripted thing. He's just happy to be in the big leagues. He's making almost $1 million a year. Put me anywhere. As long as you're not hitting me 10th, I'm good. But in his mind, I guarantee you he's thinking, please don't move me out of this bottom third.
Interesting.
Because I'm getting pitched differently. And when you're hot, you will get pitched differently. We've talked so many times about this chess match between pitchers and hitters. It's what advanced scouting meetings are all about. When a team comes in on that first day, when the Rockies come into town, sure, they're bad, but you're going to sit in a meeting, and pitchers are going to sit in their meeting, hitters are going to sit in their meeting, and so you're going to try to figure things out. They are not going to let Drew Waters fly under the radar if he stays hot. The only problem is that if you move him up because he's one of the only producers, you're exposing him even earlier than what you'd expect. And so, but again, big league hitter, still going to have to produce. I'd want to stay if I'm him, but again, eventually they're going to have to force the hand.
What's the is there value then of saying, all right, we know we're not getting anything from Massey in the 5 spot, or even sometimes the 6 spot,
or the 8 spot, or the 9 spot,
right? But is there value of saying, well, if you move Waters up to number 5 and you move Massey down to the bottom third, good God, now the bottom third looks like last year's bottom third, where at least Waters is helping you get closer to turning the lineup over to India, Bobby, Vinny.
That's why I probably wouldn't have a big league job, because I say force their hand. I wouldn't move him.
I wouldn't move him.
I would never move him, because again, it breaks up that 3 or 4 consecutive outs in a row. India is so out front all the time. He's pushing forward. You see these still pictures. I went on the MLB.com app today, and one of the first pictures I see is Jonathan India making contact with a ball, and he's way out front. He had a great battle the other day, and I'm thinking, okay, they're still in this game. I know it's 7-3, but they're still in this game, and Junior's on deck, man. Give him a crack at it. Give him a crack at seeing if he can tie this thing up or get to within 1. He had some good swings on a foul ball, and then it's a hittable pitch he could drive, and he pushes out front and flicks the ball for a lazy fly ball into center field. I'm like, you know what? You're going to make it out, and he's going to make it out 8 out of 10 times right now. Okay, but have a competitive swing. Make the at bat, the whole at bat competitive. So it's that tough thing that, again, when you have so many sub 200 hitters in your lineup and so many guys struggling, you almost have to move him. But if it's me, I'm going against the grain, man. That's one of the guys that's producing. Break it up a little bit, and maybe one of these guys can sneak in there with some hits.
Yeah, I would leave Waters where he's at just for a multitude of reasons. One, it feels like he keeps coming up with guys in scoring position. Now, a lot of those are with 2 outs. But in fairness, Drew Waters is a guy that strikes out a ton still. That's always going to be a hole in his game. So 2 strikes or 1 strike doesn't really make a huge difference. If there's 1 out or 2 outs, there's 1 out, let's be real now, might be worse for him, because then he might be over swinging at least 2 outs. He knows strikeouts the same as
he will do that.
Yeah,
he will do that.
Strikeouts the same with 2 outs as a ground out or fly out. So as of now, I'm actually okay leaving him where he's currently hitting. Looked up some underlying numbers for 3 hitters. There's good, there's bad, and there's the ugly. We'll start with bad/average. We'll start with India. India's OPS underlying metrics, they scream he should be about a league average guy, 720. I think 720 any given year, anywhere from like 705. You go back to the steroid era, it was like 800 OPS was average, but we're no longer there. About 720 in this era is typically around league average hitter. He screams should be a league average hitter right now. His chase rate is phenomenal. His walk rate is great. Doesn't strike out a ton. Putting the ball in play, but not really hitting it super hard by any means. But India was never a guy who hit the ball super hard. His plate appearances have still been okay. Sees a lot of pitches. So for the most part, India looks like he's going to revert back to the guy who he has always been. That 740, 750 OPS. He'll get back there. I'm not too worried about him. We'll go with the ugly, which is Vinny. There looks to be almost no hope in the underlying. I'm not saying I think there is hope with Vinny still, but you look at the underlying numbers, and, man, they are brutal. It's not like he's batting 181 and he goes like, oh, man, he's unlucky. Should be batting 209. It's not like there's this crazy, oh, my gosh, he's getting just so unlucky out there.
Once he had 1 line out that he hit hard the other day, and then he's got a couple home runs, but other than that, even his hits are soft.
But he's not really hitting anything hard. You're right. Even though the bat speed has impressed, and it feels like every single time he hits a good ball, it's foul, which I know he's talked about because the bat speed has, made the 107-mile-an-hour lineouts that were, 107-mile-an-hour balls that were going, into right field. Well, now they're just hitting the net and, foul. Mm-hmm. So Vinny right now needs to change something. I don't know. Slow the bat down, whatever it's going to be, because it's been brutal, and the numbers
Bunt for a hit.
Don't scream.
I'm just kidding.
But
you know what? I mean,
do something, because the numbers right now scream.
If it gets you on
brutal.
base, man.
I will say his defense at first base has graded out extremely well. So maybe stop putting Salvi at first. All right. So, but then no. Here's the good. Here's the great. Actually, here's where I'm enthused. Salvador Perez has somewhat struggled, but he's starting to heat up right now. I think the doubleheader really helped him out. You look at the underlying
five
numbers.
hits in a doubleheader, yeah.
Well, but you look at the underlying numbers overall. Now, I know people say underlying numbers, Sterling, those aren't real. I go, for football, I actually throw a lot of those out because football is such a small sample size, 17-game season. It's results-oriented. Take a drink there.
I was a little
Baseball over 162, I think there's a lot to take away from the underlying numbers. Okay? End of the day, I hate it when people are like, Yasmani Grandal had better underlying numbers than Salvi. It doesn't matter. You played 162. I don't care what those say. But as far as this point in the season, trying to project out what these guys might do, Salvador Perez is OPSing, according to the underlying numbers, nearly 1,000.
Wow.
He's nearly one of the best hitters in baseball.
Feels like every year his expected batting average on base and especially slugging is always near the top.
And his slugging has been pretty darn good. And part of it is because some of the chase rate and whiff numbers aren't always great with Salvi. We know that. You got to take it with a little grain of salt. But he's expected slugging 589. His expected batting average is 304. He's batting 224. That's an 80-point difference. So Salvador Perez, after his slow start, which looked like a slow start, he started to really hit the ball hard. He has been unlucky, but his fortune has started to turn around. A lot of those were doubles. I think in a month or so, those are going to be out. His expected home runs in like Milwaukee are 7. He has 2 right now in Kansas City. A little different here. But I guess for me, that gave me a little bit of calmness, seeing that Salvi is very close, and the numbers scream that as well. Vinny's just the one that really has me nervous.
So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, I completely agree with all of that. The weird thing about Salvi is you think he's in a slump and then has a doubleheader like that, and then all of a sudden, snap your fingers, and he's not chasing what he was chasing the last 3 games, and now for the next 10 games, he's hitting everything hard.
His chase rate went from, I think, 49% to 38.3.
It's crazy.
In about a 3-game stretch.
Yeah, it's just crazy how he just snaps out of it. And what is this, his 14th year in the league?
Yeah,
and
14th, yes.
Yeah, so he's one guy that's really hard to follow the trends of that if you just look at a batting average or strikeouts the last week or the last series or something like that. Whereas Vinny, you can numbers trend it, you can visually see it if you watch games consistently enough. And I am look, no one's trying harder than he is, and that stinks because they've been a hitter and you want to come through and you're
Probably
getting
the
thrown
issue,
out
though,
there.
right? Is that the issue? Is that his hands? He lets go of the bat and there's like dust from the wood is on his hands.
Well, yeah,
he's sanding it down with his batting gloves.
He starts the first inning with a fat handle, and by the end of the game, he's swinging a fungo bat, but the bat hasn't changed. So he might be grip and rip a little bit.
Guy.
Yeah, but again, no one's trying harder than that guy. But it's just not there. It's inconsistent. I don't know. I'm still, I usually can watch an at bat or two and watch a guy and like, okay, he needs to change that. And but with Vinny, I can't see it right now. Is he swinging too hard? Is it his foot coming down too soon? I mean, nothing really has changed. Maybe that's it, and maybe there is something that he needs to change. I don't know what it is right now. The only thing I'll say and throw this out there is that when the only balls you hit hard on a consistent basis are the ones you're hooking foul, then you're going to have to start letting the ball get a little bit deeper. You got to make a change. You can't continue to waste strikes, because if that's the case, you're going to get 0-2 every time, and pitchers aren't going to care if you're hitting the ball hard foul because they're purposely throwing you inside or middle in because they know you're just going to hook the thing because you're going to get so far ahead, or they'll just throw you a changeup and right down the middle, which normally as a big league hitter you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
But with him, he's just wasting it, and it's 0-1, 0-2, hook foul. And now even if you get a changeup, you're just going to lift it the other way or ground out softly or strike out.
So he's been really bad against fastballs, 188, slugging 333. But against
what are the strikeouts on that?
Against
That's what I want.
6.
Yeah.
Against changeups, which he's seen a lot less of, 10 strikeouts. But he's batting 97 and slugging 194.
Oof.
So against changeups, to your point, fastballs have been bad. Changeups have been even worse. Breaking balls have been the best. He's actually batting 269 and slugging 423. Breaking balls, shockingly, haven't been an issue. But the changeup, clearly, he's been so out in front, batting 97 on changeups, which goes, again, to him being out in front of everything.
Yeah. Right, but again, that tells you that he's so geared up to swing that once you start getting into a groove, even if you do foul, if you watch Vinny where he gets his foot down and he reads fastball, and you should be. Every pitch you should feed off of is a fastball. You think fastball, but you don't guess fastball, and it just seems like he's guessing fastball. So if you start to go well, even if you hit a foul ball or you swing and miss or even take it, you get that front foot down and there's that little millisecond pause, like, oh, I see it, and then you go after it. Then you know, okay, he's starting to feel it. He's starting to pick it up a little bit. The timing is coming, and I just haven't seen that yet. So I would love to get inside his and Zumal's head. Like, what is your early work like? What are you doing in the cage? Are you just, okay, we're going to go fastballs, changeups. We're just not going to tell you what's coming. Because if you just say, okay, we're going to hit changeups today, and then all you do is you get in the game and you look changeups and you get beat by fastballs and then you get frustrated. And I'll tell you, there's one thing in an ego with a hitter that you can't stand is if you get beat with a fastball. You'd rather strike out on a fastball than sit there and wait for it bats for a changeup and then you hammer it, but it's a line out somewhere. Yeah. You feel like, oh, I'm never doing that again. And you abandon it.
Visiting with Les Norman, one quick thing, and then we'll go to break, just to circle back around and put a bow on the Drew Waters, Michael Massey sort of
that's
thing.
what we were talking about.
We were. We'll but I want to talk about other things too on the other side of the break.
Wait, I got us off track by talking.
No,
numbers.
it was good. No, it was good though. It was good.
That was quality, Sterling. That was good.
And picking Les's brain about that. But Michael Massey, runners in scoring position, is batting is OPSing 613. Waters, runners in scoring position, is OPSing at 819. So far this year, Michael Massey has 32% of his at bats or plate appearances with a runner in scoring position. Drew Waters so far 26%. So it'd be roughly 3 more plate appearances for Drew Waters if he was at 32% of his at-bats. And 3 more plate appearances at 820 OPS as opposed to 3 more for somebody else at 613 can make a difference, certainly over the course of the season. But that's looking at what Drew Waters has done this year in his hot stretch of batting 370. Massey has been pretty bad. But in fact, Massey is better with runners in scoring position than he is overall because 613 OPS for Massey with runners in scoring position is nice because he's OPSing 443 on the season.
Yeah.
Just in general, including runners in scoring position and people that aren't in scoring position. So Massey's going to have to figure it out soon because there might be an MJ Melendez ticket for him.
There has to be. Yeah, there absolutely has to be. And look, I'll say this, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this. If they do move Waters into Massey's spot up in the lineup, and then he struggles because they pitch him differently, it's not Drew Waters. That's Massey's fault. Now, again, if you think, well, wait a minute, he's got to hit for himself. You're right, but again, the manager has to make the lineup decisions based on who's the best, and you got to give yourself the best chance to score runs. But if Massey's not producing, and if whoever in that spot is not, if Vinny's not producing, and you're forcing a guy who was in the minor leagues and who hasn't been given a lot of faith and a lot of big league at-bats, you're forcing him to go in there during a hot streak, and then all of a sudden his production ticks off. It's not just Drew Waters failing. It's your lineup that's failing. It's your guys. It's India that's failing. It's Massey that's failing. It's Vinny that's failing. It's the weight of all the hitters. So don't hang this whole thing on Drew Waters if you move him. It's an honor that he's rolling along and you look at him like he can help us a little bit. But if he fails, you had better have the foresight to not hang this whole thing on him.
Yeah, because you've got guys, Biggio that's batting 5th, 7th, 5th, 7th, 6th. I mean, Biggio should not be in the top 2/3 of the lineup.
Right.
for any team.
Well said.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I want to talk to Les Norman. We talk about sort of a mindset at the plate. Jack Caglione was on MLB Sirius XM and was asked about his approach and his mindset. We'll pick Les Norman's brain about that and look at these upcoming games. The next 10 games for the Royals are against the Rays sitting at 500, the Orioles 6 games under 500, and then the White Sox that are every game under 500. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More of Breaking the Norm with Les Norman, presented by TruckMovers.com and First Federal Bank of Kansas City. A quick one, and then I want to talk about Bobby Witt's hitting streak and the clip of Jack Caglione on MLB Network, Sirius XM.
We're not going to talk about poison. We're not going to we're just going to gloss over the poison that Dylan's playing. Dylan, thank you. I appreciate you.
Just resting in my 80s moments.
I love poison. Love poison.
This,
Brett Michaels, Rock of Love too. Remember Rock of Love?
I don't even want to look at Jason's face because I just know he's so upset that he tried to
just like
cut him off. Oh, we can talk about poison.
I love poison.
Look, this is nothing to do with Trump, so I don't want to hear it. I'm not making that thing. But the TV show The Apprentice, Brett Michaels actually is a business savant.
Is he?
He did really well in that.
Did he sell a lot of hats?
He ended up winning, or was he close to winning? Maybe in second place or something.
I just remember he was really good, and that was the
really
story
good.
of,
Yeah, man,
Really?
he's like a marketing genius, and yeah, he did
That's
really
cool.
well. And
Yeah.
he can sing.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Unskinny Bop's my probably favorite poison. I love Unskinny Bop.
Bop's my favorite by Poison. I like that one.
Mbappa Mau Mau.
Yes.
Heard that this morning,
Did
Elvira.
you listen to Elvira?
Yeah.
That's the Oak City Boys?
I had before he passed. He just recently passed last year, but I had Joe Bonsall on the show a couple years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a great guest, man. Great guy.
awesome.
Jason, you know exactly what we're talking about, don't you?
I am totally with you guys. I am
Yeah,
following right
you
along.
I bet your wife knows Oak City Boys because where she's from in Louisville.
Bet she doesn't.
Elvira.
I bet her parents do. I bet
It's
her
actually
family
the Oak
does,
Ridge
but I don't think
Boys.
she does.
Oak Ridge Boys, thank you. Sorry.
Let's go. Come
Yeah,
on.
apparently
Come
you
on,
don't know
Ridge
him either.
Boys.
Well, no, but every small town person knows that
I just
song.
got to throw
That's
respect
my
out.
mom.
Man. So, Ridge Boys.
Les Norman is our guest. Breaking the Norm, presented by TruckMovers.com and First Federal Bank of Kansas City. One quick one with Michael Massey in that conversation before we move on to something else. I did want to at least bring up with you Peyton Wilson. He's a 25-year-old at AA, so take that with a grain of salt. But at one point, he was a top 20 Royals prospect a couple of years ago, drafted in 2021. But second baseman at AA. Was in 19 games so far at AA, 74 at bats, batting .392, getting on base at .505, and slugging .689.
Wowzers.
With a 1.194 OPS. He just got promoted to AAA. Again, second baseman. And we looked at the beginning of the season, Les, and said, boy, right field, you better come out, hot and be hitting the ball because they're going to try to find somebody to replace you. If it's Hunter not playing well or MJ, the chatter is going to get louder and louder for Jack Caglione to play right field. Didn't acknowledge enough, I guess, second base, that if there was a player to struggle with the bat and be this bad, Michael Massey should not have chosen to do that.
Right.
Because they've got India, they've got Michael Garcia that can play second, and they did just promote Peyton Wilson to AAA, who is a second baseman. So it feels like they've got choices
Yeah, the
that are
dominoes are
developing
starting.
if he does not turn it around and figure it out.
When I talked to J.J. Piccolo about a month before the season, a month and a half before the season started, he alluded to the fact that there are guys, and I think one of those guys he was talking about was Massey, in my opinion. But if guys don't perform, they're going to have to make decisions, and they're going to have to make them early. You can't write the season off at the end of April, early May. And so if that's going to be your production and you're relying on your pitching staff to be this good all the time, that's just not feasible for them to do. You're going to wear them out. And so I love the fact that Jack has now had some reps in right field.
Mm-hmm.
That's a domino.
2 games now.
And promoting Peyton to AAA, and he's doing that. I mean, hitting almost 470 some at bats. I mean, you're approaching 100 at bats, and that's the time where you really start to get an idea of what the season's going to be like. I mean, holy cow!
Yeah,
that's impressive.
It's a second year in AA as a 25-year-old, so
he's ready for AAA.
Right, it's
25.
not to dismiss what he's doing. He's doing what essentially, like, okay, if this guy's legit, then he would be doing that in his second go around at AA. Okay,
Yeah.
well he is. Now let's move him up to AAA.
If he hits 280 or above and still has decent and consistent at bats, I think it's a viable option.
Yeah.
This year, it's a viable option.
Yeah. And they brought up Nick Lofton,
right?
That was playing really well down in AAA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that just the bereavement list with Tolbert? And when Tolbert comes back, Lofton goes back down? I don't know, but we'll see. But he's a guy that people have been saying, hey, Lofton looks different in AAA with the at bats now. I don't know if there's something going on there, but maybe that's a guy you bring up and see if you've got something there.
Well, you've got options. You want to take advantage of them. I don't, being on the player side, I don't like the game that everybody plays of, right now you look at in Boston, Tristan Casas, he's struggling. Yeah. He's having a horrible year. But there was an article out this morning where if they send him down and he plays 44 games in Worcester, then
he loses a year.
He loses a year. The team can control him for one more year. And on the team side, might be a smart move because that dude is struggling. They've run him out there every day, and it's strikeout after strikeout.
That's what they did when they sent Brady Singer down to work on a changeup.
Absolutely.
He was down there just long enough to lose a year to where the Royals had an extra year of player control.
Yeah.
Because he lost that service time by going down there to work on a changeup or whatever, and they brought him back up. And, that happens.
It's part of the game, and I know sometimes teams obviously do that. It's just part of the business side. But when this team is good enough to make the playoffs and you've got so many guys that are underperforming, sometimes you've got to put that aside. I think JJ has shown that they're not just going to be front office, protect themselves, control. They want to win. And again, if I'm Michael Massey right now, I'm looking over my shoulder a little bit. I'm saying, hey, I possibly could be spending May and June in AAA. I need to pick some things up. Now, is he doing his best? Yeah, he's doing his best, but I'm still seeing him pop up a lot. I'm still seeing – here's a good example, and then I'll get off the point. A few games ago, Rex Hudler was talking on the broadcast about guys hitting the ball hard. 3 guys hit the ball hard in a row, and Massey was the last one. He hit a hard ground ball to second base. And here was my counterpoint. Okay, the last 3 guys hit the ball hard. Ground ball to second, ground ball to short, ground ball to second. All 3 of those pitches were right down the middle. Most big league hitters are going to hit the ball hard and a pitch right down the middle. Otherwise, they would be minor league hitters. And the difference is that guys that are consistent and guys that know what they're doing, those balls find holes. Those balls are hit off the wall. Those balls are line drives. They're hit for home runs. They're not rolled over.
Yeah.
So are they hitting the ball hard, or did the pitch just find their bat? And they weren't able to square the ball up. And so hopefully, if that continues, I want Massey to succeed. I really do. I want these guys to do well. But if they're not, this is the major leagues. They're big boys, and you need to make choices and make changes. I just hope that they do.
Yeah, he the level of defense a player would have to play at second base to make up for a 443 OPS is astronomical.
Yeah.
To say, well, no, the value because he's playing good defense.
And up the middle, you need to have that.
You need to have that, but to make up for 443 OPS, you got to be one of the greatest second basemen that ever lived defensively to make up for that in the lineup.
That's right.
Visiting with Les Norman. Let's hear from Jack Caglione, MLB Network. Go ahead, Dylan.
I was going to ask, do you think that they're trying to focus too much on bat speed and losing bat control? Is that what's going on with this team? And just judging off what Jack said his offseason goals were to be, or my bad, Vinny, off like what he was trying to do, which was add bat speed.
Well, he added weight and muscle, and then it increased the bat speed.
And now he is saying that might be an issue with the reason why he's not getting a lot of good contact on the baseball. Do you think we were trying to go for velocity off or exit velocity, and now we're lacking in just getting base hits and being able to control the bat as major leaguers?
If we have to talk about those kind of statistics, then give me the Vinny who had a little bit slower of a bat but was hitting more home runs and using the whole field. I mean, right now, how good is his increased bat speed?
It does no good right now.
It does no good right now, unless you're sitting in foul territory on the first base side. But then even if it's a line drive, if it's into the net, you're not going to get the ball anyway.
That's true.
So regardless, it doesn't do anything. So bat speed wasn't an issue that was making him a good versus bad hitter. Right now, the increased bat speed seems like, if he's not making an adjustment, it's putting him in a hole every time he steps into the plate unless he draws one of the rare walks.
Let's hear from Jack Caglione. He has played 2 games in right field now for AA, Northwest Arkansas. He was on MLB Sirius XM Radio, and they were asking him about what he does when he goes up to the plate, what's his mindset, what's his approach like.
I'm feeling great. We come off a week in San Antonio with, trying to battle the conditions. Didn't have too much luck over on that side, but we're still hitting balls hard. You're not paying attention to the numbers as of right now. It's still super early on. The only thing that I'm really focusing on is just hitting balls hard and doing what I can control. And I think as long as I keep taking care of that, then everything else will kind of take care of itself. My mindset's very simple. I feel like simple's the best way to kind of go about hitting. I go up every time. I just want to have controlled swings. I want to stay in my areas where I know that I can have success in, and not try to force the issue. At times you'll expand, and that's part of the game. These pitchers are really good. They're going to throw competitive pitches, but as long as I can kind of stick to my strengths and hone in on my specific areas while staying under control, that'll lead to a lot more, barrels and a lot of more success. In college, guys usually have about 2 pretty good pitches. You get to pro ball, they're at least going to have 3 that they can throw at any point in time in any given count. So definitely talent's a little bit better at this level, but I wouldn't say it's drastic by any means.
What do you make of Jack's comments about what he does at the plate, how he approaches it, and how he's swinging the bat so far?
Well, first of all, every hitter should have that approach. I mean, that's a very mature take on all those.
Very mature.
Very mature take. Very advanced take. The funny side of that, there's 3 reasons why that's funny to me. Not in a bad way, but when you're worth millions of dollars, when you're 6'5", 250, and when you're going to get every single shot in the world no matter what you do, it's pretty easy to chill out and just go out and play every day and hit.
So if I hit the ball hard, I hit the ball hard. That's all I can focus on.
Yeah.
And,
Me hitting the ball hard is about 380 to 410. Him hitting the ball hard means you have to pay extra postage on the letter you're sending. So big difference there. But seriously, on a serious side, it is a very mature take, and he's absolutely right, because he's confident in who he is. He's confident in what he does. He understands the game. And it's not just a big size or a lot of talent. When you get a guy that has a mindset like that and understands it, that tells you he's going to weather any storms he has. That tells you he's probably a little closer to big league ready than you think he is, because when he does get to the big leagues, it's not going to be like that where you're at Florida hitting 35 home runs in the College World Series with a 37-mile-an-hour wind blowing in from right field, that you hit a 110-mile-an-hour missile halfway up the stands against that wind on your front foot kind of power. So, yeah, I love to hear that. It makes me want him to come up sooner. and have some of these guys that are in the big leagues every day. I hope guys like Massey and India and Kevin Biggio and guys that have big league time, I hope they hear that. And I hope they understand that and really take it to heart, even if publicly they don't acknowledge it. Oh, I'm going to learn from minor league guy. That's probably making you put your own first foot out the door kind of thing. But that's the mindset every big league hitter should have that is any kind of struggling. Just see the ball and just hit the ball hard. And if you don't have good luck, you don't have good luck. But the key word he said, the key phrase he said was, I can only control what I can control. And too many guys that slump try to control and try to change. Oh, I'm doing something wrong, so I have to do A and B, and then you get tighter, and then you get worse, and you dig yourself bigger holes. I've been there. I've done that. The one time I got called up to the big leagues when I was hitting between 360 and 380, it was funny stepping into the batter's box because I was so locked in and didn't care. See ball, hit ball. I call it caveman dumb. I was just being caveman dumb, and you throw me outside and it's a strike, I'll just swing right there, and I won't even pick my head up and see what happens, and it's a double off the wall or an opposite field home run. Then when I try to force it the other way, now I'm grounding out to shortstop, and I'm digging myself a hole. Jack Caglione, that guy, gets it, Cags. He gets it, and I can't wait. Not a rush, but I can't wait for him to get here.
Yeah, the fact that it's just like all I can control is just hitting the ball hard.
Yeah,
I got to focus on hitting the ball hard, and if it'll lead to more barrels, and then the everything will fall in the way that it absolutely. I mean, if you're hitting the ball 110, 112 miles an hour, you hit 4 balls 112 miles an hour. There might be one right at somebody. It's like, oh, that sucked. The other 3 are probably falling in somewhere when you're hitting it that fast and that hard. It might fall over the fence when you do that. And that's such a tough thing in baseball because, even with, our little kids that we coach, like you'll have a kid that just smokes it, right at the left fielder, and the kid catches it and he's slamming his bat and walking off the field like, dude, what do you expect, man? You barreled that ball up. You smoked it. That's baseball, dude.
Yeah.
It's all we can ask you to do.
Kids don't get that, though.
I know.
I mean, at that age, just their mindset's not there because they'd rather get 4 bloops.
Dude, I was going to say
4 for 4,
I was going to
man.
say, then there's a swinging bunt, and they go to first, and they're like, yeah! Flexing, let's go! Doing a little, one of those little dances that they do. And I'm like, all right, yeah, appreciate you getting on base and passing the baton, but I'll take the one you smoked I'll take that at bat every time rather than the swinging bunt that you but, it's tough for little kids, certainly. But I think it can be tough for big leaguers, too. Just like, because you start to maybe feel like, man, I can't get luck here. I can't get something to fall in. I'm smoking it. I should have a better average than I do. And I'm hitting the ball hard, and the numbers aren't there, and this is BS, and I'm unlucky, and bleep this game.
The game is way, way, way more mental than it is physical. It's way more. And the average fan that watches, all they're seeing is the physical part. They're not thinking about it. They're entertained by the hits and the home runs and the batting averages and all that. But to put yourself in the role of a big league hitter and pitcher too, any part of the game, it's just so unbelievably mental. And the more mature you are and the more you're able to turn your brain off except for the details of the must, like I got to have good balance. I got to see ball, hit ball. I got to have good footwork here. But regardless of all that, if you're able to shut your brain down and just react and be an athlete, that's when you're going to get really good really fast.
Yeah, there's a rookie for the Marlins, catcher, who's played like 5 games and is mashing the baseball and is already batting 4th for the Marlins. His first at bat last night, he hit one, I think it was 113 miles an hour, right at the center fielder, that I'm not sure it went higher than the center fielder's chest.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
But he caught it.
Yeah.
It's an out. It's an out. And it's like, well, what are you supposed to do at that point? You jog off the field, you say, up. If I hit next at bat, I hit 113, that's that much of a line drive, I'm probably ending up at second.
Yeah,
and at that point, or rounding the bases.
If you show negative emotion, which he didn't in that sense.
No.
But if you show negative emotion when you come in, one of the veterans needs to come over and get on that hitter immediately. Like, dude, you better take that, because if you don't focus on the fact that you hit it hard instead of the hit didn't drop in, pretty soon your mental game's going to shut off. And you're going to long for those days when you made hard outs.
And you also look. Sorry, go ahead.
And that's why I'm saying, everyone, Salvi, get ready, because all the balls he's hit have been hard.
Well, and I just that's where also, like, you also approach him and go, hey man, you know how many guys at this level can hit 113 off the bat? can square that ball up like that, hit such a line drive that thing just squares and is squared up and just knuckles all the way to the center fielder at 113. You know how many guys can do that? So appreciate that, and your next at bat, do it again.
Absolutely.
That's not easy to do at the big leagues, man, especially for a guy who's played 5 games at the big league level. And he was the main prospect in the I can't remember which trade it was for the Marlins that they had traded somebody away, and he was the main prospect they got in return. And he's batting 4th for him as a catcher right now. No, it wasn't that. I'll look it up in the break. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. We'll take a timeout, come back. We are breaking the norm with Les Norman. It is presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City. More Zone next. Ten games for the Royals, Les. They had this 6-game homestand. They went 5-1. Awesome. Swept the Rockies, did what they needed to do. Took 2 of 3 from the Astros. They've got 10 games now over the next 10 where they will go to Tampa for 3, go to Baltimore for 3, and then start a homestand where the first 4 are the White Sox. These 10 games, is there a record that you'd like to see them shoot for to feel like they're taking advantage of the 14-14 Rays, the 11-17, Baltimore Orioles, and the 7-21 Chicago White Sox?
Minimum should be a 7-3 road trip. They should
road trip / beginning homestand.
Or beginning homestand. Yeah, sorry, 10-game stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Should be 2 out of 3. I'll give Baltimore 1. They're probably a little bit better than their record, not a ton, but a little bit better. So maybe 2 out of 3 there, and they should straight sweep the White Sox. I mean, they should. Now, again, that's a big league team they're facing. Every team has a good day. Pitcher can deal something like that. But if I will take 6-4, I will not be pleased 500.
Yeah, I agree with that.
No chance. I'll take a 6-4 with a slight disappointment, but they should be 7-3 or better.
Yeah, because we started the 6-game homestand last time we talked, and it's like, all right, what do they need to do over these 6 games? They went 5-1.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, awesome. Before this homestand to get back to, at that point, it was like get back to you'd be 1 game under 500.
Yeah.
They went 5-1 at that stretch. It's like, all right, they're 1 game under 500 right now. They've got these 10 games. After these 10 games, they should They better be above 500.
Anything, yeah,
after these 10 games.
anything I think less than 7-3, I feel like it's I'll quote the great Beldar Conehead, unacceptable. It will be unacceptable.
Acceptable. Yeah, because if you can win both series, and then you take 3 of 4 from the White Sox, they're 7.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yep.
Win both series and sweep the White Sox, and now you're sitting at 8-2. Or just win all 10 of them. That seems cooler.
Yeah, I
you know
choose
what I mean?
that one
Yeah, I choose
personally.
Yeah, it doesn't suck.
I don't know
there.
why you guys don't have higher expectations.
How many games for Bobby in this streak? Next week, are we still talking about his hitting streak active for Bobby Witt? He's got 19 now.
Yeah, I'm not betting against him. That's just so hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, mentally, emotionally, physically, the grind of it. And look, you can say that it's not there, but it's there. Everybody in the world is talking about it. People in the clubhouse, they're probably trying to shield him from that. Oftentimes, when you get to a point where if you start thinking about it too much, you almost hope your team wins, but maybe you go over just to get it off your back so you get a fresh start. Now, he probably won't think that way. He's probably I'm just going to get up there and hit. Yeah, I'd love him to pop a 30, a 40-game hitting streak. That'd be sweet.
I'll throw a random number. I'll just say 43. I think 43.
Yeah, that works.
You want me to give a number? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just that was a good enough answer.
Okay.
I mean, the
Appreciate it.
Royals.
Let me off the hook.
The Royals record.
No, come on.
The Royals record for one season is 30 with George Brett. The Royals record, if you combine seasons, is 31 with Whit Merrifield.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this. We've talked about Bobby Witt. We think he's going to break the cycle streak. I think he's going to break the Royals record for either one, whether it be George or Witt.
I'm gonna say the canned response. I wouldn't bet against it.
Not necessarily this time. I mean, just over the next 6 years of him playing baseball, because he had a 13-game hitting streak, and in the bottom of the 8th in his final at bat, he had that little squibber to the right side that he beat out.
Yeah.
And now he's got a 19-game streak. If he's not as fast, it's, you had 13. But, hey, you've put together 5 more after that. Yeah. But yeah, he continued that one. So, Les, you're the man. Appreciate you, brother. Who you got coming up on the show?
Conrad Hawley, man. He was an Iowa State basketball player. He used to play baseball when he was a kid. He was a high school Simone Award winner. So, get to pick his brain a little bit.
Heck yeah, looking forward to hearing that one. Les, you're the man. Appreciate it, brother.
Glad to be here as always.
Breaking the norm, truckmovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City. Lebo next. James Anderson. Getting pretty tired of guys named Todd. Hi, what's your name? I'm Todd.
I'm James.
I'm James. I'm Jason.
What's your middle name, Todd?
Sterling.
William.
You could have gone by Billy or
Todd Billy
Billiam
Lebo.
or
T-Bill.
Todd Bill Lebo.
T-Bill.
Invest in T-bills.
Yeah.
T-Bill Lebo.
That's right.
TBL.
TB. What's up, TB?
I've told this before. When I was born about 3 weeks after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl in 1970.
I was going to say, wow, you are young for being
Or I'm
born
old.
in 2020.
And so my parents said they were going to name me Willie Otis, after Willie Lanier and Otis Taylor.
Badass.
But William is my middle name, but it's not after Willie Lanier.
Oh,
but
boo.
I'll say that it is. And
Yeah.
I have we used to do, remotes with Otis Taylor and stuff. And I told him that story, and I had a little, he used to work for Blue Cross Blue Shield or something, and I have a little white football that said, to Todd, almost Otis.
That's
Otis
cool.
Mhm.
Wasn't Otis, but
You know what my name almost was, right?
Almost Otis.
We've talked about this on the air. What
Jennifer?
my name? No, my name almost was. Well, maybe, I don't know. If I was a girl, I'm not sure what it would be.
Uriah.
Jasonia. No, Barry Gibb Anderson.
Barry Gibb Anderson.
Fans of the Bee Gees, apparently.
Yeah, big time.
Yes, Barry Gibb Anderson.
They were like the Bee Gees when you were born, it was really on the downturn. The disco
1980.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, but Barry
been
Gibb,
really
luckily my dad
unfortunate.
stepped in and was like,
BGA, baby.
one of the best things he ever did.
BGA.
Was
What,
like, no,
Dylan?
no, you're naming this kid after me. I'm going to have his middle name be my first name. I'll take it. That's fine, as long as it's not Barry Gibb Anderson.
Hello, Barry.
Did you
Barry
have
Anderson.
anything?
Were you almost a different name?
I think, well, this is the funny story, is that I go by my middle name, which is
Oh.
John Dillon, because my mom didn't want people to call me DJ, but then they call me JD if it
Yeah.
was just John Dillon. So I was supposed to be just regular Dylan John Michaels, but then she was afraid that people would refer to me as DJ. So flipping it from that just turned it to JD. So I was
John Daly. Like it.
Does
change much.
She didn't want DJ?
So your name is John.
Yeah, legally. So
Well, we should call you John.
Yeah.
yeah, go for it.
You like John? Johnny?
Mama call him John. I'm going to call him John.
Well, I was
Mama call him
probably
John.
absent from a lot of college classes. Was they were John, John,
John?
and just
Does
right
your
over my head.
Does your mom call you John?
This guy barely even shows. He was there 50% of the time.
Well, that's
I
a high
forgot.
that's a high number.
Does Mama Michaels call you John?
No.
Does anybody call you John?
No.
Okay.
No.
Call
Starting
for
now.
John.
Sterling.
I
Mama
like
calls me
JD.
Dylan. Calm down.
Sterling?
Mama calls him Dylan. I'm gonna call him JD.
What
What's
did,
your name?
What was your name? Was your name going to
It's
be
always
anything crazy?
Sterling. Sterling Guthrie Holmes. I was always
Guthrie?
going. That's my middle name. My mom's
You named
maiden
after
name.
Jeremy Guthrie?
Okay, yeah.
Woody Guthrie, actually.
Guthrie,
Who's-
Oklahoma.
Who's Woody Guthrie?
Guthrie, Oklahoma. Yeah.
Who's Woody Guthrie?
This land is your land. This my land.
Is that
my
who-
land.
that's
Yeah.
Woody Guthrie?
Woody Guthrie, folk singer.
What sounds more like a country singer, Sterling Guthrie or Guthrie Holmes?
Sterling doesn't sound like a
No,
country
Guthrie
singer.
Holmes.
Too fancy.
Yeah, Guthrie Holmes is obviously the answer there.
Guthrie Sterling, maybe.
Yeah.
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 Guthrie Sterling would definitely be a country singer. You'd
Sterling
you'd
Guthrie
have
Holmes, I'm about to sing you this song.
you would have steel guitars all over that track. I mean,
Everywhere.
I love me
Guthrie
a
Sterling.
slide guitar. And,
I was in Muskogee this weekend for a wedding.
were you
and,
were you an Okie?
I'm not an Okie, but they have a little statue of Merle Haggard by the Civic Center
As they
playing a
should.
guitar in a chair, and you can sit in a chair next to him and take a picture. So I got a picture
about that?
of me and a fake Merle.
Fake,
I like
fake
me some Merle
How do you know it's
Haggard.
fake though?
Well, he's dead.
Well, they could have put the statue over. It could have been
I get
mummified.
it. I mean, it's like a really good
Could've bronzed him.
life-sized. So it's not like sometimes that statue's not quite right. It's too big, too small, whatever. You just sit right
Frozen
down there with
carbon.
Merle.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying.
My
They could've-
long
It's like
hair
Han-
covers
Han
up
Solo.
my
Han
red
Solo, you know.
neck.
Yeah.
could have been Han Solo right there. You sitting right next to him, had no idea.
Guthrie, Oklahoma is over on the other side of the state.
Yeah.
That was the former state capital.
Oh, was it?
They lost out to Oklahoma City somehow. It's just north
Mm.
of.
And then they changed it to Stillwater.
That's not the capital.
What?
That's pronounced
Norman.
Stoolwater. You're saying it wrong.
Does Mick know this?
Mick knows.
Does Mick know that that's actually how it's pronounced this whole time?
See, look at me, Merle.
Whole time about that.
I
Look at
wanna
that.
see Merle.
That is actually him.
Does
though.
he have long hair? No, he has
this
short
is
hair.
cleaned
yeah.
up, Merle. This is
That's
young
cleaned
Merle.
up. That's when he was singing about the Okies from Muskogee.
Yeah, probably
What if that
late
was
60s.
somebody just in that paint and then
That-
started
that
moving
little
around?
silver
Would
guy.
it scare
Boy,
you?
I'll tell you what, did a good job.
Would
Never
that scare
moved.
you? He's not even blinking.
Did he
This
try
guy's
to
crazy.
sing you the perfect country and western song? Did he?
No.
He didn't try
No.
anything about Mama or
No.
trains.
That's like the
Getting
minor
beer.
leagues for the silver man in New York
Yeah.
City, basically. That's like the minors.
You got to be the bronze
Sitting
guy
there
in
as Merle Haggard.
Muskogee.
Down
Not
in
quite ready for
Oklahoma.
Michigan Avenue or Vegas.
Yeah, you got to go to
That's the big
Oklahoma.
Times Square.
Yeah, that's right. It's like Mickey Mantle in Oklahoma before he ended up in New York. So you got to start somewhere.
Yes, it's where he started.
Yes, you got to start somewhere before you end up in New York. Todd Lebo is hanging out with us here as he spent his
almost
weekend.
Otis, actually.
You know what he did? He sent his weekend not covering the Chiefs. Nice job.
Yeah.
Nice job. I
I
mean,
was
you're
there
there
Thursday night
just
till late.
part-timer. 33% of the time you were covering them. You know,
I was paying attention, though.
33% covering doing your job 33% of the time. What are you, Sterling?
I was watching the draft.
I'm good for 80%.
That's probably right. Yeah.
Sort of. It's passing.
Yes, that's right. Were you were happy? Sort of the best of both worlds on Thursday night, Todd.
Had
They
action,
traded down,
and I got to
and you
see
still
it.
got to be there when they took a selection. How about that?
And it was a lot of flurry of activity right at the end because Andy walked in the room very quickly after the draft pick. They had him on the Zoom very quickly after Andy, and then we barely had a chance to text the guys back here.
Yeah.
Veach is walking in. Let's go.
Right. I know to the point that Adam Dravetta was pissed. He was not happy. He sent a text to the group saying, "Really, the first time I don't do the draft and they're done by 11:30."
They did the whole thing quick.
They're done by 11. We're not waiting till 12:45 to get Veach or Andy on, or the athlete. Are you kidding me? It's 11:30. It's done.
Yes. That's it.
And then Soren said the text also included him telling everybody they were number one.
Oh.
Dravetta. Yeah, so that's nice. He's still a nice guy, telling him how much he thinks of him. They're number one.
It was very quick activity right there at the end.
It's nice.
It was good though, and they did trade, and they ended up getting an extra pick out of it. So that was good.
Yeah.
That was a good move. They got what they wanted. I did think that Veach's explanation was funny though. You really have to trust someone to say to Howie Roseman, offense or defense? Defense. I guarantee you're not taking my guy then, and I'll make the trade.
I'll make the trade, but if you don't do that, that's the last
you
time we're
only
trading.
get to lie once.
Yeah.
And then they never trust you.
Yeah,
Good
probably
thing
to
for,
any GM though.
Yeah.
Any GM wouldn't trust you at
Good
that
thing
point.
for Howie is that the media will spin it to him fleecing and doing a positive no matter what, even though he got bluffed by Brett Veach completely.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how about Howie Roseman just
How did he
fleecing the
draft
Chiefs?
Jalen Rager over Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, getting Jahad Campbell there at number 31. He should have been gone earlier.
Yeah, he also has the same mock draft as my 11-year-old cousin, where it's I'm just going to take all the Alabama and Georgia players. Yeah, good idea.
Kind of does work though. It does.
It's
kinda
worked
work.
so
Yeah,
far.
it does work.
It's worked so far, unfortunately. Jerks.
Leibs, when they traded back and they're at 31, did you know right away it was to 32, or when you heard there was a trade, were you like, oh my gosh, I wasted
was
my
quick.
entire?
Because it
Because
showed
they
up
said
as
it was-
Eagles on the clock,
Yeah,
right?
Eagles. So that just meant that.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think they were trading to the second round. So
Yeah.
I thought, okay, it's a flip.
Right, that's because
Okay.
the first thing I saw was Eagles on the clock, and it's like, oh my God, wait, hold on, Eagles on the clock, and
Did
then
I just,
then you start seeing there's a
blink
trade, and it's like,
forget?
okay, well,
That's why I
good. Well,
felt
they
bad
traded back
for
one
you
spot.
at first. At first, when I saw a trade, I was like, you were the first person I thought of.
Hey, well, we were
Yeah,
joking
I didn't
about
think of him at all.
of us out there. If they did trade out, then we weren't going to have to wait for a Zoom for a player.
That's a
and
good
Andy
point.
wasn't going to talk to us. Veach would have had to come out really quickly and say, yeah, we traded. There's why we traded.
Yeah, here's
So-
why we did it. Here's what happened, and we'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll have a lot more fun.
I actually believe that's why the spread of food was so immaculate, was because I thought that they may have known, we might trade out of this. We might make this meal a
We're good.
5-star meal here for these guys.
We are taking calls to trade back, and apparently they were. But then Veach said, what, 27, 28, 29 around there is when.
Felt real good.
But it's when guys started coming off the board there is when the calls dried up, because apparently those were the players people were going to trade up to 31 and maybe get.
Yeah.
But also there were some other ones that he said wasn't really as serious to then get off the phone with the Eagles to take that trade at number 31.
No one was trading up for a quarterback at the end of the first round.
No,
Everyone was hoping.
No, I thought maybe there'd be a Shuck or there'd be a Shadur. Sanders maybe going there at the end of the first round. Somebody would trade up. So
Someone did trade up for Shadur.
Yeah, just several days later.
Yeah, they just
several
got it,
days later,
got it on
yeah.
Saturday. Somebody traded up in the first round and they took Jackson Dart.
Jimmy Haslam did that.
Yes, that's right. They nailed it,
Specifically,
man.
if you took a look at the Browns' war room when that pick was made,
Oh,
I
my
think
God,
that was
dude.
another ownership decision.
There was that Browns war room when they took that pick was the same as the Texans war room when it was announced the Chiefs have traded with the Bills to get the 10th pick in the draft in 17. The Texans were like, "There's our guy." Bill O'Brien was like, "We're going to get Mahomes." will settle for Deshaun Watson, who's a much higher character than Mahomes. I mean, just a better community guy, really. Deshaun Watson.
I don't know if people knew that then.
There's one thing you don't have to worry about is that being a guy in the community is going to be really good for the community. He's a leader of men.
Reach
and
out to small businesses, try to help them out.
100%, yeah. Help people out along the way. You know, the little
Independent
person.
contractors.
100%, yes. He's about everybody. He wants to give equal opportunity for everybody to get a chance.
Well, he'll mentor that quarterback room now.
It's more of a hands-on approach with Deshaun Watson too,
because he's
mentoring
right now, so he'll have to hands-on mentor.
Yeah, what
a
fun quarterback room there. Flacco and Pickett and
Kenny Pickett's
Gabriel
on his third team
and Shedeur Sanders
in 3 years. Is
and
that right?
Deshaun Watson. Yeah,
I mean, just like he must be miserable because he's like winding up to get out, and you know.
But that quarterback, Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel, Sanders, and Watson.
Yeah, and
5 guys
well,
there.
Gabriel
One of
played
them
for
won't
3
play.
colleges, and Sanders played for 2.
Yes. But Sanders only played for one coach, though.
Right.
His whole life. So there you go.
I did like. I asked Coach about this after in reference just to Simmons. You know, about how he came from a smaller school, went to a bigger school, and competed. He liked that he had transferred up and competed at a high level at a bigger school, because that's the step up again here. And Ryan Nutt talked about that yesterday, about the evaluation. You know, it's just a harder job to evaluate these guys now, because they're talking to people at 2 or 3 schools, you know, 2 or 3 assistant coaching staffs, weight room staffs, you know, all of those things that they try to find out, is this a good dude? How does he work? All those kind of things. Their job got a little more different, because I think of the guys they picked, only 2 of them were at one school. Everyone else went to multiple schools.
Yeah.
It just makes
that makes sense.
Doesn't make it particularly harder. It's just a little more work, because you want to know why. Yeah, listen, you know why a kid left San Diego State or whatever to go to Ohio State. It's a bigger school, more money, blah, 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 all that. But they're not all like that. Some of them, you know, were, I think the running back was Miami. Then to SMU. Now,
Norman Lott was Arizona State to Tennessee.
It's not a step down, because SMU finished ahead of Miami in the standings last year.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You know,
but he went from wide receiver to running back by going from Miami
right, so
to SMU.
There's just another layer of things that they have to kind of find out about.
Yeah.
Because they want to know. The film is the film. You watch how someone plays football, but they want to find out how they are in the weight room. Are they late to class? And you got to kind of do that twice or 3 times now with some of these guys, because you're going to get more and more players now. It is probably the rarity. Yeah. I don't know what all the stats were, but the Chiefs are probably like a lot of them. They drafted 7 guys, and 2 of them.
Yeah, 5 of them started somewhere else. It was Gelati played only at Louisville, and Bossa played only at Oregon. Simmons, San Diego State. Norman Lott, Arizona State. Noel Williams, UNLV. Jalen Royals, junior college, and then Brashard Smith, Miami.
Yeah.
So 5 of the 7
and that's
transferred.
Probably pretty standard.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah.
You know, around the league. So you're going to get that. And that's, it's going to be more later. I mean, and it's not just, you know, quarterbacks are.
I was going to say probably a decent chance that almost every quarterback that's drafted might be out of a different spot.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
Cam
except
Ward was
Arch,
at
you know,
3
next
schools,
year.
Right?
Yeah.
And Jackson Dart was at 2 schools.
Tyler Shuck was at 17.
Was it several?
Yes.
And, you know.
Didn't he play with Justin
Shedeur,
Herbert at one point?
Dylan.
In college?
Gabriel. I mean, a lot of them were at different places. And I don't think Arch Manning's going anywhere. And I guess Arch Manning's the first pick of the draft next year. But he has yet to play, so I don't know.
But yeah, right.
Listen, he's done things differently. He sat and watched an entire year and a half, really 2 years of football, where most people would have left. He's coming at this a different way than many people, because he doesn't apparently need to go chase a dollar. He wants to be with Sark, and he's going to be there. But he also, his brother or his uncles, neither one of them left college early.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You know, he could stay in college for 2 more years just on the red shirt.
He could make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's going to make a lot of money if he's the number 1 overall pick. But he would make a lot of money in, you know, 2 one-year contracts to stay there at Texas. I mean, how much did Miami quarterback now at Georgia?
Carson Beck, like $4 million?
Yeah, so that's at Miami. How much did he make last year at Georgia?
Yeah.
So is this guy made $7 million in 2 years
Yeah.
playing college? Did he make 3 at Georgia last year, 4 at Miami this year?
Is there a chance that Arch Manning isn't a number 1 draft pick? Sure there is. By the way, Quinn Ewers just took Texas to 2 straight playoffs and got picked where? 7th round?
6th or 7th is what the first thing that popped into my mind.
And was the number 1 quarterback in the country out of high school?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the whole thing about Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders put up some really nice stats, but he didn't get picked because he doesn't fit in what the NFL thinks they want.
Especially for a guy that may be a backup quarterback.
As big a place as you can be, right? In a big conference, the Big 12 and the SEC, competed in both.
Yeah.
And got picked in the 7th round.
It also
put up big stats.
Yeah. It also didn't help for Shedeur Sanders that apparently he approached some of these interviews like Goodwill Hunting sent Chucky to go and do retainer. You suspect. You know what? Saints? You suspect. I don't trust you. You suspect.
Listen,
retainer.
The whole Sanders thing is a mess, and it's their own doing for the most part. I mean, it
and
really
he even said the things I did at the time seemed right. But if I did it again, I would certainly make some different choices.
Well, he's a very immature person, even though he's 23 years old and is a worldly person because he's probably been all over the world, done lots of things. But he's immature, and he comes off like a spoiled kid.
Well, one very mature quarterback who's 23 is now joining the Jets, UDFA, Brady Cook.
Oh, well, how about
that? Yeah, he is now going to be with the Jets as a UDFA. So congrats to Brady
Good
Cook.
for him. Yes. So he joins Membu.
Great, stable organization.
So he and Membu.
Membu and
who else?
Justin Fields is the quarterback. But I think it's kind of interesting that Brady Cook's style is similar to Justin Fields, maybe.
Well, that's a good spot to pick then, because he is not a solidified quarterback.
No, but like my point is like you actually might have a chance if your normal quarterback is that, and you want a guy who's kind of similar, so you don't have to change the
Who
offense.
else in their room right now?
Tyrod Taylor, Jordan Travis, Adrian Martinez.
Adrian Martinez.
So, by the way,
multiple schools.
You'll be excited by this.
Will
Former Oklahoma but better player at Missouri, Theo Weiss, UDFA, Miami.
26 years old now? How old is Theo?
He's not young.
Theo Weiss caught his first touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma.
Wow. That is crazy, though.
Theo Weiss is 23 as well. Better be 24.
Yeah.
Better be 24. Yeah. But I thought it was cool. Mizzou, UDFA, going to Miami.
Yeah.
Theo Weiss.
Cool. Maybe he might have caught a Kyler pass. Look him up. See if he got hurt. 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. No. That's right. He played 6 years. 2019.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Brandon Beane. The draft concluded for the Buffalo Bills, and the Jeremy and Joe show, morning show there in Buffalo, that apparently has Brandon Beane on WGR 550 in Buffalo.
Regularly?
Apparently, yes. Yeah. So they have Brandon Beane on, the GM of the Buffalo Bills, and here's Brandon Beane talking with the hosts of the show. Kind of frustrated that the hosts were not happy with the overall draft because wide receiver was not addressed earlier. They took somebody in the 7th round, a wide receiver, but here's Brandon Beane weighing in on the criticism about early wide receiver drafting or lack thereof.
I was just listening to the last few minutes of your show before I came on, waiting on here.
All right.
Sounds like 2018 all over with you guys.
Well, how so?
Well, you guys were bitching in 2018 about Josh Allen. You guys wanted Josh Rosen, and now you guys are bitching that we don't have a receiver. I don't get it. Like, we just hold on, let me talk. We just scored 30 points in a row for 8 straight games. A year ago, I get you guys asking why we didn't have receivers, but I don't understand it now. You just saw us lead the league in points when you add all the postseason. No one scored more points than the Buffalo Bills, including the Super Bowl champions. So you just saw us do it without Stephon Diggs, same group. How is this group not better than last year's group? Our job is to score points and win games. Where do we need to get better? Defense. We did that. So I get it. You got to have a show, and you got to have something to bitch about. But bitching about wide receiver is one of the dumbest arguments I've heard.
Okay. I mean, I wish you'd listened to the 2 hours and 25 minutes before that, because there's plenty of things we do like about your draft, and I find it curious the energy you're coming at us with, but I mean that's your choice.
I get it. I'm just like, let's be realistic. Our job is not to have. It's not fantasy football, like to trot out the best receivers. You got Josh Allen. First thing you got to do is protect him. You can't have everything. You can't have Pro Bowl wide receivers and have a Pro Bowl offensive line and an All-Pro quarterback and 3 great running backs. Like you gotta pick. Sure, I'd love to play fantasy football, but there's one football, Jeremy. There's one ball. You can't give it to but so many people. So that's where I'm like, I don't understand this narrative. I felt it a little bit from a couple of the reporters and the thing. Like, our job is to score points. It doesn't matter what receivers, what quarterback, what. If you score points at the level we scored, that is winning football.
So he's not happy about some of the criticism that's there.
It's not a great look, a little testy on that. But nobody wants to hear you say you can't have this and you can't have that, you can't have that. Nobody wants to hear that you can't have good wide receivers and a good quarterback and all.
Right, like I don't necessarily agree with the criticism of not drafting a wide receiver early for the Buffalo Bills. It's just odd the energy of Brandon being so frustrated and upset about the criticism there. Like if you truly believe that on the offense and what you're building, then what does it matter what some guys on the on the radio show say about your draft and to be that upset that you would say, you guys are bitching about this 5 different times about wide receiver. You sound like Josh Allen or Josh Rosen.
Too, I guess, probably.
I guess I see where he's coming from. We were like, the offense wasn't the issue last year. Why are we complaining about the offense when I did what we tried to do and bolster the defense and the offensive line? Again, we're scoring points. Doesn't matter if it's an all-pro receiver or not. We're scoring points. I thought it was odd how angry he got, as we're saying, and I would have loved it if when he said "let me finish," if the producer, if like Dylan back there, just would have just dropped him. Let me finish.
You're not doing
drop
when you're a partner with the Bills.
No chance you're doing that.
I'm being facetious.
They should
probably
probably be a little angrier.
They would have dropped the producer.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, the Keon Coleman pick just wasn't very good.
Right. I mean, so
that's the problem.
They took Kincaid a couple of years ago that hasn't turned out to be, Travis Kelce, that they thought was going to be the tight end that was going to open everything up for the Bills. Keon Coleman last year. The best receiver they've taken is Khalil Shakir in the 5th round in 2022 because he's now the best receiver on their team. And they've got Shakir, they've got Keon Coleman. They signed Joshua Palmer this offseason, and against the Chiefs, he'll be amazing.
Hey, and I'll give them all the credit in the world. They did score a lot of points last year after saying goodbye to Stephon Diggs.
Right.
They made their team their team better.
The problem against the Chiefs was not the 29 that they scored; it was the 32 that gave up. That was the problem. Is they only scored? They gave up 32 points. And
to a team that wasn't very good on offense.
Yeah, right. I mean, when they gave up fewer than 25 points, they were 12-1 last year. When they gave up more than 25 points, they were 3-3. So, okay, score more points? Yeah, sure. But if your defense can keep the other team below, 3 touchdowns and a field goal in the course of the game, then, yeah, they're pretty good. Because if the Chiefs would have only scored 4 touchdowns in that game, they would have lost by 1. But the Chiefs end up winning. They scored 29, they gave up 32. So I would say one side.
You've always been able to run on that defense.
Yeah.
Since Josh Allen's been there and they've been, head-to-head with us in the playoffs, we've always seen it where if you can run, you can always run the ball.
They had a cornerback issue last year, and they lost Rasul Douglas in the offseason. So you want a wide receiver in the first round, or you want what they feel like Maxwell Hairston's the best cornerback sitting there at number 30?
You just got to make plays when it counts, too.
Yeah,
I mean, listen,
sure.
They're not missing the playoffs. They're just not making enough plays at the right time in the biggest game.
They had Stephon Diggs, who didn't make plays 2 years ago in the divisional round in Buffalo. That dropped passes at home before they ended up trading him away. And they had Stephon Diggs then. He just didn't make plays.
And again, his defense. They scored 30.9 points per game last year, second in the NFL. Their leading receiver was Khalil Shakir with 821. Yeah. Is it making it harder on Josh Allen? Yeah, but you know what else makes it harder on Josh Allen? When you have to score 30 points because your defense is giving up 32.
Well, yeah, and that's sort of the point of, like, he's the MVP. Like, being the MVP is raising everybody's level, which is why, like, I sort of bristle at, like, people are saying, hey, Caleb Williams is going to be in the MVP conversation because he's got DJ Moore and Luther Burden and Roma Dunze and Loveland and Cole Kmet.
Who said that?
Well, then
Tannenbaum?
No, it was an ESPN article about overreaction, not overreaction,
Ryan
things
Poles.
like that. But it's like, okay, so is he in the MVP conversation because you're saying he's surrounded with crazy amount of weapons?
That's the opposite of an MVP.
Right. What's the MVP? Just throwing it to amazing players and letting those guys.
He had a lot of weapons last year.
He
too.
did.
He wouldn't go.
They also revamped. They're going to have 5 new starters at the offensive line. So they're going to have 5 new starters.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah, and then as a good thing, 5 new starters at offensive line and Moore, Adunze, Burden, Cole Kmet, Loveland. Like that's 5 guys right there that you can throw the football to. But does that make him an MVP because he's going to put up crazy numbers? Or the reason Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson were battling for MVP is what they did with the surrounding cast around them offensively and the numbers they put up. All right, let's play Fact or Fiction. We'll do that on the other side of the break.
Sure.
We'll play maybe, maybe not. More likely than not.
Possibly.
Coming up next. Maybe so.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Todd leads off. He's the guest here.
Todd.
Great article from last week.
Almost Otis. Almost Otis.
Yes.
No Williams is my favorite value draft pick.
Fact.
Fact.
I'm going to say that's a fact.
That is a fact.
You love the Chiefs' ability to find defensive backs.
Yes. But I'm glad they spent a better investment, a little more investment. I think the well of the 5th, 6th, 7th rounders has started to go dry in the CB room, so I'm excited they spent a little more capital there.
All right. 1-1-1.
Dylan. Brashard Smith will be an All-Pro or Pro Bowler within 3 years. Fact or fiction?
Fact.
I'm going to say it's a fact too.
I think so.
Does he love this guy?
But there's a technicality
because
there.
Everyone's a Pro Bowler.
No, there's a technicality somewhere else. I'm going to say fact.
Is there
though.
another one? Fact.
It's a fact. Special teams.
Special teamer.
Special teams.
Returner.
Return specialist.
It's what Chucky was saying as Chucky playing the role of Jalen Ramsey. Returner. You suspect. I'll go first here. It's 2-2-2.
Jason.
Yep.
Omar Norman Lott gets over 3.5 sacks this year.
Oh, fact.
Fiction.
Fact.
Fact.
Yeah,
I think it's 4 this year. I think it's 4 or 5 this year.
He loves Omar Norman Lott.
I do.
That's his son.
I do.
Todd.
We'll go with William.
Yeah.
Jalen Royals goes over 650 yards receiving this year.
650. Not enough room. Fiction.
Yeah, fiction.
Fiction. Well, Rasheed Rice suspension, and
but when Hollywood Brown goes for like 1,500.
I mean,
if he gets injured again,
Travis Hunter's.
What do you mean?
Travis Hunter's is like 700.5 with his. Total
sorry, I guess I'm a dummit.
Well, we did it right.
Dummy.
You're a dummit.
He's at 700.
It was like 700. It's like 70-something reception. I'm
He's
like,
gonna play most of the back.
I'll take the unders.
Yeah, you should. I might go take the under now.
I'll
because
take every under with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gillette usurps FAU in the pecking order at edge. Is it usurps?
Usurps.
Overtakes.
Usurps.
Is it gelati or is it Gillette? Or is it
gelati?
Or is it
gelato? Actually, it's a nice creamy Italian dessert.
He will, but I know that you said this is the year FAU breaks out, so I'm gonna go. Wait, he usurps him. I'll go fiction.
I'm gonna say that's a fact.
He better not. That's bad news for FAU.
He will.
I'll stick with.
He will or he better not.
It's a fiction.
It's fiction. FAU is going to keep it. He's going to keep that pecking order spot.
Is Dylan undefeated?
No, it dropped
Never
one.
lost.
We all lost the previous one.
That was.
No, you all won the other one. Jalen Royals goes over 650 yards. I said fiction.
Yeah, he just
my
argued
bad.
against us.
Sorry.
He just argued against his own answer.
My bad.
Yeah,
three.
It was a bad question. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you were.
Should have said
you were
550,
dumb.
and I still probably would have taken the
Yep,
under.
Dylan undefeated, 5-4-4. We're all tied. All right, I'll go first on this one.
All right. The Royals go 2-1.
Which Royal, Jalen or
the Kansas City Royals go at least 2-1 in Tampa, and the offense looks better.
Fact.
He can't look worse, can it?
You'd never say it's.
I mean, did Tampa just swept the Padres? Fiction.
I'll go fact for that reason. They're going to come riding a little too high off that sweep of the Padres and overlook the Royals.
It's a fact.
It's a fact because they're playing in a sandbox.
They are playing in a sandbox, which means the offense will look better.
Because it
doesn't mean it is better.
It worked out in New York.
Well, yeah. Shoot. Gosh.
That's all right though. I got the point, so don't worry about it. We're all good.
We're all tied.
Whose turn is it now?
Todd's turn. It's 6-5-4. We're all tied. Dylan's leading. 6 for 6. Dylan.
Willie. The NBA playoff format is perfect.
Fiction. You hate.
No, besides the play. Besides the play.
Besides the playoffs.
Oh yeah, because we already did this.
I know. Besides the play.
Besides the play-in. I think it's still fiction.
You're saying like this year specifically? You think
I think they should play 5.
No,
in the first round.
just the format.
Yeah,
just the format
It's not
outside of the
perfect.
play-in rounds.
It's not perfect. Fiction. Nothing's perfect.
Yeah, I'll go fiction too.
I'm going to go fiction because I had to look it up to see is it 2-3-2 or 2-2-1-1-1. Like they keep changing it back and forth. So I'm going to say it's fiction.
Yeah, it's fiction for a lot of reasons. One, obviously, you know my thoughts on the play-in game. Dumb. But even besides that, yeah, why do they go back from 2-3-2 to 2-3-1-1?
2-2-1-1-1.
3. It doesn't matter. It's dumb. And why are they playing 7
2-3-1
games in the first
2-3-1-1 would be
round?
crazy.
What is this? Are we trying to play basketball until July?
More money.
This is asinine. I love the NBA
It
playoffs.
used to be 5. I
yes.
don't know when they moved it.
Yes.
It's too much.
I love the NBA playoffs. This is too much.
Too much NBA
Too
for
much.
you?
No, but it devalues the
So
regular
when is
season too much.
The Thunder sets for how long now? Waiting for a game.
Eons, at least a fortnight.
Yeah.
2003, Todd, was when the first round extended to best 7.
Only 20 years ago, huh?
Yeah, because it was what Nuggets and Sonics are like. Nope, we can't have this.
We're not having
no.
this. You got to give us another chance.
They would not have lost in the first round if they had a
Also, the
7-game
introduction
series.
of a one LeBron James to the league, so that's funny as well.
There you go. Well, there
More
you go.
LeBron.
There
Yeah,
you
and
go.
02 was
Great.
better.
Yeah, it's my
Made it
favorite
more-
year.
Trying to make it more difficult for
Lakers
LeBron,
and Sacramento. Remember?
When they cheated the Kings.
They kind of cheated the Kings. Yeah, the Lakers cheated the Kings.
Wasn't the Lakers, the league cheated them.
Doug Christie, though, looks like he might be taking over.
They're out here cheating.
Kings and Jazz
They're
just
cheating.
got cheated a lot
Bring
in
the
the late
Kings
90s.
right
back
now.
to
Trying to
Kansas
get New
City.
York through,
All
aren't
right.
they?
Yeah, they're trying to get New York through.
Kings and Jazz got cheated all
Howard
throughout the
Stern
90s
would
and
never.
early 2000s.
Howard Stern. David Stern would
Howard
never.
Stern.
Howard Stern probably would because I think he's in New York.
Probably.
All
Dylan
right.
leads us off.
Dylan. T-Wolves in the series tomorrow against the Lakers.
I'm going to go against my heart here. I'm going to go fact.
Is this one on the road? What's
This
the format?
it's. I'm gonna go.
it's in-
I'm gonna
it's
go
in
fiction.
Minnesota.
It's.
They need to
No,
extend
it's
it?
in L.A. It's 2-2-1-1-1. Again, to your point about
I'm befuddled.
being annoyed by
I
it.
think you're just
no,
fuddled.
it's in
It's
Lakers.
in
Fiction.
L.A.
Lakers win.
So
Lakers
yeah,
win.
Lakers win
Why
that
they
one.
lie to
win.
me?
Yeah, it's fiction.
Lakers win. Fiction.
Oh, just this game or this?
Just
No, he
this
said
game.
just this game.
Just this game.
Well, ask the question again. We'll start with Dylan.
Nah,
Ask it
it's okay.
again.
No,
The
I'll still go
Timberwolves end the series tomorrow
Yeah, yeah.
against the Lakers
In Los Angeles?
in LA.
You're going.
I'll still go fact.
I'm going fiction.
Fiction.
It's a fact, baby. Dylan, good call.
We're gonna have to keep track of that.
They're too
one.
tired.
It's more
I don't
betting
care about
is
days. They're
tired.
too
my
tired.
emotions there.
I'm too tired.
They're too
Okay,
tired.
Sure. Okay. They're too tired.
Too tired. They couldn't come back. They
Be double-
choked against T-Wolves.
Double, triple doubles from LeBron and Luka.
And Austin Reeves gets picked on defense yet again.
Well, maybe don't play him the entire second half.
Well,
every
Yeah,
single
JJ
second.
Redick did the 2K way that like everyone that doesn't really play the game a lot, but supposed to play with your buddies.
They
at
sub
their
it out
house.
on their own,
Yeah,
and you
turn off
immediately go and
subs,
sub it right back
turn
in.
them off completely.
100%. 8 to 5 to 6. We're tied. I'll go first here.
Billy Gibbs. Was it Billy Gibbs? Bobby Gibbs?
Who are you talking about?
Jason?
Barry
Gibbs?
Barry
Barry
Gibb.
Gibb.
I'm wondering how
Barry
long this
Gibb.
will last.
Barry Gibb.
Barry Gibb.
Way too long. This horse is dead. Barry Gibb. Rockets come back from 3-1
Billy
and
Gibbs.
win the series again. Isn't that ZZ Top?
Yeah.
Barry Manilow.
Billy Gibbons.
Barry Gibbons. Rockets come
Gibbons.
back from 3-1
My
and
sister
win.
was named Mandy because of Barry Manilow.
Really?
So, yeah.
Everyone gets a point.
Little Mandy. Yeah.
Rockets come back from 3-1.
No.
Rockets are toast.
Fiction.
Yeah, they're
Fiction.
Toast.
fiction.
Fiction.
It's
Yes.
over for them.
It's over.
They're
It's
this
over.
year's Thunder.
Yeah. Stick a fork
A
in them.
little too young to be that high seed.
Also, it's nice that you play amazing defense, but, man, you got
Score at least a
to
little bit.
score from time to time,
Score the
too.
ball. Ask Brandon
Um,
Bean.
Yeah. That's right. You got to score, all right? Stop with the defense. Ask all the criticism there. Todd, we'll start with him. It's 9 to 7 to 6, all tied.
Wet Willie. The Thunder make the NBA Finals.
Absolutely. 1,000%. Fact.
Fiction.
Fact.
Fact.
Dylan finally lost one?
Finally.
That sucks, Dylan. You were on a roll there.
Now you're not tied anymore.
I think they make the conference finals. I just think that like they have to take another step as a young
Who-
team.
who's
into
gonna
getting
beat
They're
them?
done.
ready, bro.
Yeah, they're ready, dog.
I'll take the
Thunder up.
field. I will take
Exactly.
the
Who's going to beat
field.
him? The field. 9-8-7. We're all tied.
I mean, what are they, what's the field? The Arizona Cardinals field?
Yeah.
Sure, that's fine.
Bring it in
Dylan,
there.
Eagles
Yeah.
would say.
we'll start with Dylan on this one.
Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Royals should move Drew Waters up in the lineup.
Cards Against Humanity. I'm taking your answer. I'll go fact here.
Oh, his answer is fiction.
Oh man.
Fiction.
It is fiction.
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Dylan's falling apart. It's false.
That is fiction.
It is 9
Leave
to
'em
9 to 8. It is almost tied.
for a multitude of
Detroit
reasons.
Pistons over here.
Yeah.
You fell apart.
Detroit
Yes.
Pistons over here.
There you go. 9 to 8. Last one. I'll go first on this one. 9 to 8.
Jason. I understand why
Nope.
the Browns brought Deontay Johnson in.
Oh, fiction. Oh, no. You know what? No, I'm staying fiction.
For the reason. Oh,
Well,
Todd,
I mean,
Todd.
to actually tie this, the only way I can actually tie this is to say fact.
Yeah, opposite reason. Fact. I think
Oh,
you do know why this happened.
I
because they're
know
the
why.
Browns.
It's a
That's
fact
it.
because
Dang
the
it. I saw
Browns
it.
are
Yes,
dumb.
because they're dumb. Yes.
They're dumb.
That was what I was going to change it to. Is like, you know why? Because they're dumb. Yes. Dang it.
Any other team, I'm like, no. Even the Jets, I'm like, the Jets probably know better. That's dumb. The Browns are like, no. Hear me out.
10 to 9
We're
to
gonna
9.
bring Deontay Johnson in. It didn't work for those teams who are playoff teams, but it might just work for us.
But if Dylan had played the game correctly and agreed with me just to see would be specifically different from Todd, it would be tied 9-9-9.
Yeah, we could have had it.
We could have had a Mav.
Could have had it.
I
But
will
as it
fire
stands, it's still
when I
tied.
am gosh darn good and ready. You got that? That was the TBS version.
Well,
of,
what I will
Top
do
Gun.
then, even though it's 10 to 9, what I will do is
could have had a Mav.
We'll still do a tiebreaker.
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll still do a tiebreaker.
Should we still, even though it's not tied? Even though it's not tied, we're going to do a tiebreaker?
Let's switch it up into a tiebreaker this time.
All right, that's fine. What's the tiebreaker
How bad
then?
is this question?
It's a good question.
Sure.
It's a great question.
Doubtful.
Weather's starting to warm up. You go to the ballpark,
Fact.
right?
Okay.
You might be having practice with your kids for baseball and softball. And
Any
all that
ballpark?
stuff. Any ballpark.
Okay.
And you like throwing a little something in your mouth. And you don't want it to be chew or dip. Okay? I'm talking sunflower seeds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking some seeds. Top 5 favorite
That won't be
sunflower
represented
seeds.
on Friday, but
Top 5
Did
favorite
I
flavors?
say something? Did I say something wrong?
No,
Are these
my
brands or flavors?
Well, Ryan O'Hearn would say something else. That,
Flavors.
That's if
Flavors.
you say that popped in your mouth.
Top 5 favorite sunflower seed flavors.
I'm gonna have to Google this because I don't do.
You
this,
pop
but-
them,
Okay.
chew them,
Spit them.
Spit them.
spit them.
Go ahead.
Get the salt off them.
No, I thought you were. There was one more step in this thing.
What?
Lick them.
Just
Put it in your mouth? What?
Stop, no.
What, Jason? What are you talking about now?
apparently the last part about eating a sunflower seed. Go to break right now. The last couple.
Was that?
I'll sing the whole thing.
Still coming up with the last couple. Do you guys have yours figured out
I
already?
had to Google the internet there because I
have my top 5.
I don't
yes.
eat a lot of seeds, so
I
when
hope
I
you
was
have
a
yours,
kid, I
Sterling.
don't think there were flavors.
Yeah, it was just regular. It was just sunflower
No,
seeds.
come on. As
That's
a
what they were.
kid,
You were
we
a kid
had
5
I'm
minutes
a lot
ago.
older than you.
You were
I'm
a kid
31.
5 minutes
I'm
ago.
a man. I'm 30.
Absolutely be your father.
That's
How old
true.
are you?
55.
Yeah, that's 24-year-old
Oh,
man.
you
yeah,
weren't
there's
doing
plenty of
that at
55-year-olds
age.
with
Come
it.
on.
I could have adopted you, maybe.
You maybe could have done that. Come
Yeah.
on.
I
I've
have a
seen you at
28-year-old.
24. Yeah, but come on. 27, sure. 24? No, come on, Lebo.
Is that right?
Come on, Lebo.
Is that what you're
no
going
one's
with?
had a kid before 24.
That's never happened. It's
Not
actually
on
impossible.
purpose. I'm kidding.
Pretty good. All right, so do we start from number 1?
By the way, you should have a couple kids by now at 31.
He probably does somewhere. Do we start with
What?
number 1, or do we go 1 to 5?
5, 4, 3,
We're
2,
starting
1.
with number 5 first.
I'm going to go here. Here's the deal. The best
Yeah.
ones are the regular salted seeds.
We're starting with number 5.
Okay, 5. From what I Googled on here, I'll go ranch.
I went bacon.
I went number 5, sour cream and onion.
Dill. Dill
I
pickle.
thought you hated pickles.
I love
That's why I
pickles.
put 'em
That's
fifth.
the best.
I couldn't remember if I
Huge pickle guy.
Hands down, number 1.
I couldn't
like-
remember
That's number
if
5.
he liked them or hated them, so I left them
Love
off because I
pickles.
didn't want to take
Pickles,
a chance.
olives. Oh yeah,
What
big
do you like
pickle
about
guy.
pickles?
Damn it! It was either not on the
Salty.
list or
Tangy.
See, I would have put it higher if I'd have known that you loved pickles. It wouldn't have been number 5.
Big pickle guy.
But clearly not. It's number 5 for you.
Well, but there are 40 other flavors that make top 5.
Yeah, it's top 5.
It's still not high enough.
What'd you
top
put? What'd you have at the bottom, Dylan?
Dylan, what'd you
I
have?
had bacon.
Oh, bacon.
Bad call.
I had wasabi on here.
No.
So
'Cause I
none
don't
of
like
us,
wasabi at all.
none of ours even showed up
Well,
on your
I'll
list.
tell you in a second. Number 4. What's number 4?
Number
I put
4,
wasabi.
I had buffalo wing.
Barbecue.
Number 4, cracked pepper.
Oh yeah.
Cracked pepper. Number 4.
Also too low.
I have.
I love cracked pepper.
I have
That's a good one.
buffalo on here next.
Number 3.
I had salted, just your regular old salted.
I had ranch.
3 is barbecue.
Oh,
3 is
man.
barbecue.
My number 2 is barbecue.
My number 2 is barbecue.
So 3 is barbecue because barbecue is almost the OG to me now. Like
That's probably the original first flavor.
yeah,
that
the
was
first
different.
flavor. I like barbecue a lot. The original ones are good too, but that just missed out in the top 5.
But
So
not put
number
the
5,
original
dill.
is the top one.
Number 4, cracked pepper. Number 3, barbecue.
I'm gonna go cheese for number 1 then.
Number 2 is ranch.
Number 2, I had ranch
said
number
ranch.
1.
I had
Oh,
black
I wrote
pepper.
ranch down here.
Yeah, number 2. Number 2 is ranch.
My deal's not very good. I wrote ranch.
By the way, 5 through 2 are all interchangeable. I'm not gonna like get too upset as far as if someone offered me dill, cracked pepper, barbecue, or ranch. All great.
So number 1 is
Number 1 is what?
All number 1, hot sauce, spicy, buffalo, whatever you want to call it. What's the one that gets me going. Okay, I need a little spice in my life, and that's gonna
When do
be
you
the number
eat
1.
Seeds.
Okay, so here's
Men's
the
league softball in here. If you ever see him just strewn about in here, like
Strown?
Here's-
spit out. Yeah, I spit in here.
Here's where we've got to come up with the tiebreaker on the tiebreaker. 3 of my top 4
Okay.
that I had are ranch, barbecue, and buffalo sauce.
Yeah, I had those
three
also.
of my top 4
None
are
of them
that.
in the right spot though.
Yeah, but 3 of the top 4 are your top 3.
Okay,
What's your whole list, Dylan?
Dylan, what's your list again?
From 5 or 1.
5 down.
It is bacon, barbecue, ranch, black pepper, pickle.
Oh, he only had 2.
He had 4 to 5 though.
Oh, you did have.
He had
one
4 to
there.
5. Dylan wins.
He did.
What was Dylan's? What was Dylan's
He had
top
4 to
3?
5.
What were his top 3?
Bacon, top 3, ranch, black pepper, pickle.
Yeah, because he had.
So
the
only had
pickle.
one of the top 3.
Yeah,
though.
but he had 4 to 5.
He only had one of the top 3.
But we didn't have pickle.
But he
didn't
only
have
had one of the
pickle.
top 3.
Yeah, I don't. Sorry.
He only had one of the top 3.
The
tied
game,
the
the game,
tiebreaker.
the game is kind of bleep Jason. Let's be real. I'll take that from Corey.
It's the game of life.
Oh, Corey would have pistol whipped him the whole time.
Yeah.
He'd end up with 3 points on the whole
Well, he
thing.
would have pencil whipped me too. I mean, I hope he didn't actually
And
pistol whip
and
me
then
too.
he would have.
He would have done both.
Then he wouldn't have let him participate in the tiebreaker.
That's
also.
actually
He
right.
shouldn't have
That's
been
actually
in the
what
tiebreaker.
would
Quite
have happened.
frankly. Dylan, congratulations on your huge win. You are awarded the great honor of buying me sunflower seeds.
What flavor though?
You can choose.
Dill pickle.
You can choose. I love
Buffalo
seeds. Do you
hot
guys not
sauce?
choose seeds that much?
I don't really have a spot to do that.
Here's what you run into,
you
Sterling.
mow?
though.
I want to find the equivalent of like
When
the,
I mow?
what is it, the
Eating
fruity
when I mow?
cinnamon toast crunch bacon that Curtis was
yes.
posting about. I want to find that equivalent of seeds.
Here's what you run into now, Sterling. Is
Drive it in your car?
no as we're
Make
at,
a mess in my car.
No, you got to
no
spitter.
we're at the park all the time. We're at the park all the time. League games and
Are you
tournaments.
allowed? Okay.
But all of these turf fields now, no seeds, no gum.
Oh,
That's
really?
absolute
turf.
BS.
So you run into that now with the no seeds, no gum
Yep.
on the turf. So
I get no gum.
Can't
I
be
get
chewing
that.
either. You know.
Yeah.
Well, you can't
but
chew
no,
on them.
tobacco's
They're all-
fine. The kids,
kids
the
are
kids
fine.
can spit the
They're
tobacco.
all tobacco free.
Yeah,
now,
we got
right?
the kids over there. We got the spit cups. We got to write their names on it, you know. So we,
Splatoons,
so we make sure who's, you know. It's like, hold on, that's your spit cup, guys. Enough.
I still remember I was driving home from Columbia. Or
Dirt
driving
fields we can,
to
uh,
Columbia. I
shoot
forget
the
where it was.
seeds.
We were
Whose
stuck.
wintergreen is this?
You
And it
said
was,
you remember, then you said you forgot.
and it was either going to or from Columbia.
You're on the right
And it was
side.
you know what, I was going back because it was summertime. It was like 105 degrees that day. It was super hot. My car overheated because we were in the middle of traffic. It was just me, and I didn't have any water. But I've been eating seeds the whole way, and I got so dehydrated because I was trying to fix my car without water. I had to walk like a mile and a half to the next exit.
I-70?
On I-70, and I'm delusional at this point because all I've been doing is crushing seeds and just losing water because it's just
You really
soaks up
didn't
the
think you
sodium
needed
out.
something for the 2-hour drive, did you?
I didn't think so. It was going to be an easy 2-hour drive.
What car was this?
The old
you were
Nissan
eating?
Maxima. Black. It was an all black Nissan Maxima, very hot, and it had engine issues. And of course, it reared its ugly head on this trip. But I was like, well, I'll be fine. Walking a mile and a half, stumble my way to finally get to this oasis.
You just bought more seeds?
To buy seeds?
I wish.
I'm out of seeds.
Everything was closed.
I'm hydrating.
I need
Everything
more
was
gas.
closed, and I had to trust that this random guy, these dudes, 50-year-olds in a truck. I just jumped to the bed of the truck, and they eventually just drove me back to my car.
That's very nice of them.
Because everything was closed. The exit was a bunch of liars. Everything was, nothing was open.
Was it Sunday?
No, it was a desecrated town. I don't know. It was a one barn. Deserted. And
Maybe it was desecrated too. I don't know.
By the time I got back to my car, the
You got
traffic
done.
had abated, and I was able to eventually start my car back up and go.
So did
that
they
was
bring you
that was no.
some
I stopped at the
water
next
to put in the
exit and
car,
then
or-
got some water. I was the thirstiest
So
ever
you
in my
just
life,
wandered around and then got driven back to your car and then it worked?
and it worked. Yeah, it was. Things just
You,
kind of
you
worked
had a
out for me.
cell phone or something, right?
May have been dead.
Because you didn't charge it?
Probably.
Because you're a dummy?
I was in college. I was dumb. All I had I was eating seeds in 105-degree weather with no water. I'm not claiming to be a smart man.
I didn't have a cell phone.
He still found a way to figure it out.
I found it out.
My car never did break down on the way to school. It was pretty good. I drove a 77 Cutlass for 2 years of college.
Supreme?
79 Cutlass, absolutely Supreme.
Yeah.
And I
Is
was
there another kind?
fearful that they would not make it all the way, but they never did break down. My brother had a car. I think his car broke down, which ended up being my car, the 79 Cuddy. His car broke down.
Cut dog.
Honestly, I think it broke down in Guthrie, Oklahoma.
Wow.
Take it back full circle.
Cut dog.
I've only had cars that have broken down.
In Oklahoma?
That's all you've had?
All my 1994 Toyota RAV4 Baby Blue broke down. The brakes just stopped working, and it was a whole disaster. Almost hit a tree. My mom was in the car. Had to pump the brakes. Figured that one out. That's a life lesson for you kids. Pump the brakes if it goes out.
Yeah.
Two, that Nissan Maxima.
Cool it now. Stop.
Nissan Maxima broke down all the time. Eventually had it in Philly. Got destroyed by a drunk driver. Not me, of course, but someone else wrecked it. It was actually draft day. Draft day when the Chiefs drafted Holmes come out that night, and drunk driver hit it.
You weren't in it.
I had a Jeep Grand Cherokee 03 that was destroyed. A guy stole my car, crashed it, and then he said, you can punch me one time, we'll call it good.
Did
and
you
I
do it?
said, no, shockingly, I was like, I'm going to go ahead and call the cops on this one.
Then he punched you.
Then I
and
had
ran
a Jeep Wrangler
Was that
that
here,
just
or is that
eventually.
Philadelphia?
That was here. I was in college. Then I had. Well, could I never buy a car in the same decade that as I was born in, or
Yeah, that
they
makes
were always
sense.
very old
Shouldn't buy
cars.
yeah, for sure.
So
But you
new
resell
cars
the
finally
Jeep?
good. My old one, yeah, that one sold,
sell
it? Yeah.
but because it was falling apart. The entire thing, I was getting ready to get.
Did
a
you tell
part
them that when
done.
you sold it?
No, of course not. But I got paid $2K for it, so I don't think they.
Yeah. Just the video game he was given. Speaking of old friend alert, Ryan O'Hearn hit a big 3-run home run yesterday against the Yankees in the third inning, and the Orioles had been struggling, and they got swept by the Tigers, so they needed to get a little momentum going. And Ryan O'Hearn came to the dugout getting some water, and there was a mic right in the dugout, and the Yes Network was broadcasting this, and Ryan O'Hearn blurted out after drinking the water, sort of emotional, said what you would do to like a lollipop.
Mm-hmm.
My bleeping if you were to say baseballs.
Right.
As he walked away, and it was very clear on the broadcast. And then Michael Kay said, well, I guess mouths do need to be washed out down there. Here's right.
Talking out loud.
He was just pumped. He got the drink of water. He just hit a 3-run home run against the Yankees and said, bleep my bleeping baseballs. Here's Ryan O'Hearn, his first answer post-game after the game.
I'm going to start by apologizing to the kids, watching. There's a hot mic in the dugout there, and obviously we're fired up and say some things that we shouldn't. Maybe we don't want kids to hear. So I just want to say sorry for that. Big win for the boys, and we've been grinding. So to get that hit there, get some momentum, put us up like that. A lot of emotion, and
Those emotions were high.
Obviously very happy with how it turned out today, and yeah.
Yeah.
Word got down to him, huh?
Yeah,
Word got down.
Sorry to the it was just great. Michael Kay on the spot. I guess mouths do need to be washed out as he was drinking water. It was pretty good. I decided against playing the clip of what he said, Todd, on the air. instead of just explain
Just
what
have
he had
Sterling
said.
say what he said.
I'll say it.
It has to do
No,
with
you won't.
sunflower seeds, like things like that. You know,
I'm
I don't
telling
know.
you right now, you're not going to.
You're not
Oh, well,
going to.
in about 5 seconds, I'll say exactly what he said. What he said
4,
was
3, 2, 1, go.